Board of County Commissioners meeting will come to order. Let the record reflect today, May 31st, 9 o'clock a.m. Mr. Barnes, would you do the honor, sir, of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Madam Secretary, would you conduct the roll call, please?
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Sorry.
Gulping.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Prince. Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. As we move to amendments of the agenda, I did a little research, and I believe we will be, from this point forward, within the rules and regulations according to Robert's rules. If we want to amend the agenda, and certainly we can have this discussion, we can do so legally and not violate the 24-hour notice if we want to make a change within the agenda, moving something from one spot to another, or we can delete things from the agenda. I don't believe from my research that it would be legal for us to add things to the agenda. So from that point, or from this point forward, if with your consent, gentlemen, we will try to stick to that.
Toe the line.
Okay? Yep. All right. Amendments to the agenda. Commissioner Prince, none? Commissioner Kanda?
No.
Nor do I. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from May 16th.
I'll move to approve them.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of May 16th as presented by our board secretary.
Good job, Kelly.
Thank you.
Comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Minutes have been approved. We'll move on to audience introduction.
Jackie Bubis for the Sentinel.
Dallas Anderson, Airport
Board.
Jackie Hobby, Custer County Planning and Zoning.
Go ahead.
So I'm Lisa Drew from the Custer County Clinic.
Pat Daly, Planning Commission.
Rick Barnes, Planning Commission.
Skip Frost, alternate.
Tracy Ballard, Tribune. Kathy Clark, Custer County Kids Council.
And
Claudia Morris.
Cleo Pomeroy.
thank you. Oh,
Did you?
yes.
Oh, I'm
Kathy.
sorry. I
Yep.
missed it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. Welcome. Nice to have you folks here. And again, I wanted to formally introduce Lisa Drew, the new executive director for Custer County Medical Clinic. Nice to have you here.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yep. Had an opportunity to meet Lisa yesterday, and delightful person, so we're glad to have you. Thank you for being here this morning. You're welcome. If you have another comment or two, we would allow that.
How do you spell your name?
Drew, D-R-E-W. First name is Lisa, L-I-S-A. I've been a kind of a local, just about an hour up the road in Canyon City for 25 years. I've been a nurse 25 years, have a master's in nursing as well. I've been a CNO, done lots of things. I've taught classes here, and I've been involved with the RETAC, so the Southern Colorado RETAC as well. So I feel like I'm not a native, I'm not a local, but I kind of am. I love the community, and I'm very happy for this opportunity and look forward to meeting you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome. Brenda, we okay? We will hold up just a second, gentlemen, if you don't mind. I'm invited to guests to come down. Oh, I thought you already did. Sorry. No.
Thanks. Bye.
Linda Elliott. Mr. Linda Elliott. So bear with us just for a second, folks, if you don't mind.
The suspense is killing me.
Well, there's some people that may be cheering for that.
I know. Could be, huh? Could work out
supposed to
good
hear
either
that.
way. Either way, it works.
Apparently, I should whisper a little quieter. Yeah, I just took the words out of somebody's mouth.
There they are.
Good morning. Come in here, you rascal.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We
Thank
wanted
you.
to, let me explain real quick. Miss Linda Elliott has been an employee of the county for 27 years. Today is her last day on the job. She has done an outstanding job in the Department of Human Services, so I asked Laura if we could invite her down and at least present her with a card. I also, on behalf of the county commissioners, made you a little West Cliff
Wow,
gift.
that's pretty neat.
So it's nothing real
very good.
fancy, and I could not find a bag tall enough for that.
Or one that wouldn't rip.
Yeah.
What a rip. So,
Could we come around and have a picture, do you mind?
yeah, that's fine. So,
Thank you for your
Who's taking the
service.
well,
pic?
thank you.
I think, Jackie, you want, I was gonna say, let's
I'll probably
get
show
on.
up Monday not realizing I don't work anymore.
We go both sides of her, or we'll figure out somewhere.
I'll slide.
In here.
No, well, you're
No, that's fine.
I don't know which one to look at. Okay.
Now let's look over here.
We'll look at, oh, I was looking the other way. I was looking over there.
Oh,
We do one more, Miss Jackie.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Perfect, thank you.
I tried to hold
Thank you.
hands with Jay, but he wouldn't have anything of it.
It was the kiss I was worried about.
It's what?
The kiss.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right.
I heard the echo of that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you folks very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience there. I knew the timing was going to be a little weird, but man, 27 years and walk out here tonight, and that's that, as they say.
Can I get one of those windmill things when I retire?
27 years? Yes, sir. How many more you got to go?
23.
I'll start on it this afternoon. According to my wife, it takes me about that long to get around to making one, so
That's pretty nice.
thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, there's some serious finality at 4 o'clock after 27 years. Oh, gosh. We will move on. Commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you like to start, please? Thank you.
Since our last meeting, I've been pretty busy. I met in Salida with the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments on a project that we're working on. I attended Bob Weisenbacher's thank you party for his service on the tourism board. I met with affordable housing and we discussed actually changing the name from affordable housing to attainable housing, and that'll be coming before this tribunal sometime in the future.
Good idea.
We're having an ongoing issue with an at-risk adult. I've had multiple conversations with the Sheriff's Department and with Clint and others, so we're working on that. Of course, I attended the Memorial Day celebration in Silver Cliff, and I'd like to commend Silver Cliff for another outstanding service to the community and to our veterans, and they did a wonderful job, and it's a wonderful facility they have honoring our veterans. I attended the Upper Arkansas Council of Governments housing study in Canyon City, and yesterday we all attended the Justice Center discussion meetings that we've had. Other than that, I didn't do anything.
Pretty busy.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cannon?
Let me go last. I got a
Okay.
couple things.
We of course had our last BOCC meeting on May 16th, so subsequent to that, I attended a hazard health and safety response team meeting. I think I mentioned this last time. We're in the process of developing a team that can respond to some health and safety issue that comes up in the county. We have a network we're trying to build. Obviously, we had an issue this last week. I think that hazard team, we did not meet, but the communications were conducted with most of the people in that hazard team to say, hey, this is what's going on. So if you can be available in case something develops, so on and so forth. That includes Sheriff's Office, Commissioners, Public Health, Solvista, Emergency Services. There's probably 7 or 8 different entities that are represented on that hazard team. So we did not officially convene this week with the post office issue, but it made me feel like, you know what, maybe we are going the right direction for that very kind of thing. That's exactly why we decided that we thought a hazard team would be good. I attended the airport board meeting on the 17th. We also had a weed management board meeting that day, and then they had a Republican candidate forum down at Cliff Lanes that evening, and I attended that as well. On the 21st, I attended a Fair Board meeting up in the Silver Cliff Town Hall. May 22nd, met with the Werfenau County Commissioners and Roger Squire down in Walsenburg to discuss a weed manager position for Custer County, and it looks like we're going to collaborate with Werfenau County and share their weed sprayer / weed manager, which is going to save us a ton of money this year. So we're excited about that. Roger did a great job. He's the chairman of the weed board here, Roger Squire. May 25th, I believe Commissioner Prince and I attended Jake Schultz's memorial.
I missed that.
Yeah, I thought you were out of town. And then May 29th, I met with Kelly Camper and Donna Hobby on a salary schedule committee meeting. And then, of course, on the 29th, I just happened to go up and check in with Under Sheriff Chris Barr, who was basically serving as the incident command for the issue up there. And then I had a lunch meeting on the 29th with a couple gentlemen, including the mayor of Westcliff, to discuss an issue which I will bring up and discuss with you gentlemen when the time is appropriate. And then again, I also attended the Judicial Committee yesterday. So that's, other than playing with my grandkids, that's all I've been doing. Commissioner Cannon.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to be last because I got a few things, and I'm going to keep it really short, and you'll understand why here in just a second. So I did a lot of work working with my bosses. As a matter of fact, I asked Brenda to make some more cards for me because I've been passing them out, and to include meeting. What's the neat thing about being the point of contact for Road and Bridge and the airport is you meet a lot of your neighbors you didn't know you had, and you hear from them a lot, of course, on the roads especially, and. I've been getting a lot of good comments on some of the things that we've changed a little bit, and we are trying to work in getting as much mag chloride down on the hard spots that roll out quick to get them packed down, and we're going to eventually build up the base, and then you should see an improvement in the roads. But to include, I also met with the Democrat chairman, Roland Williams, and his wife, and had a great talk with them. And one of the reasons I'm walking around the county is to understand what bothers you guys and what are the issues. Because sometimes we have a perception, because you hear from a small segment, and sometimes you hear from a small segment, and the silent majority is happy over here, and these aren't, or vice versa. So it's good to get around. Work the Justice Center, and we'll hear more about that later. We're going to have a nice presentation today, I hope, by that, and for us, the 3 commissioners to listen to. Also, the airport. The Watts family bought the south end of the Wolf Springs Ranch, and are very community-minded people. I'm really impressed with them. As a matter of fact, they've gotten involved with the school already. I'm also a vice president of the Custer County Bobcat Booster Club, and they have graciously, and I want to be the first to congratulate them on helping us with a generous donation toward the scoreboard. We needed a new scoreboard at the school. It quit the last 3 games, and we had to take time manually with the clock and the score and all that. So I had to not only speak it, but I had to add and subtract and get the score right. So that was really something. There's some family, and they have commissioned an engineering team to do a study on the airport, and we mentioned this in a previous meeting, on making sure what they understand the load limits of the runway are so they can land their aircraft on it. And in addition, as we've mentioned before, also help us by donating some other things like a fuel farm for Jet A and making ramp improvements, et cetera, that we haven't got specifics on. But I do want to report today that the testing that I mentioned before is not going to be it wasn't destructive in the first place. They had thought of using a firm that's going to bore samples down the middle of the runway and on the sides. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to do an impact drop test along the runway at different locations that doesn't damage the asphalt, doesn't bore into it. And they're going to bore a couple holes on the side of the runways to get a look at the substructure of the runway.
So if it fails the drop test, do we have a big indentation in our runway?
No. And what it does, it makes an echo, Jay, and you get the sonic readings from the structure underneath, and it tells you a lot about the force. And if it did, they might help us with a soft spot. That would be nice to find. So that's good news. We're going to do that right away. I'm just reporting that because we're not ready to make any decisions on anything yet until we get the report. And by the way, the report is it doesn't matter what the load limit is unless it's lighter than that aircraft, because then they can't land. But if it limits the load of fuel that they land with, that's what they need to know. And that's the big deal. So it's good news. They're very nice to work with, and we're lucky to have them as partners in the Valley. So speaking of the airport, this is why I wanted to be last. One of my best friends here in this valley, since they moved up here from Kansas, is Alan Butler.
I thought you were introducing
I was
me.
going to introduce you after Alan. Alan, as you know, has been involved in aviation as I have since we were little twerps, and Alan has donated his time to the 4-H club through the years to incite people into flying aircraft, into the Experimental Aircraft Association and the Young Eagles program, giving kids rides, towing gliders and all that kind of thing. Today, Alan is in intensive care unit in Parkview, and in very bad, and I won't go into the details right now. And so what I request today is, do you think and pray for Alan? He has been a commissioner, a leader in this community, and he means a lot to me. He took my dad in our airplane to Denver routinely during the week for cancer treatments because he couldn't drive up there and my mom couldn't take him before I retired from the Air Force. So it means a lot to me. And so I am going to leave this meeting as soon as we're done, and I request not that we aren't efficient in this meeting usually, but we're going to try to be as efficient as we can to get everything done today, so that I definitely want to be down there as soon as possible. And I know that they would welcome flowers and any thoughts that we can give them as the community down to Parkview Hospital where he is. So that's my request right now. And so I'm not going to say anything more. There were other items I wanted to talk about and report on, but Tom covered a bunch. Jay did too, that we were both involved in as well, all three of us, as we learned from you all. So with that, I turn it back to the chair.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. While we're in commissioner items, I will bring it up here. I mentioned in my monthly report a meeting with a couple of gentlemen at a lunch meeting. The outcome of that meeting was to set up a meeting with George Medeiros, the director of Round Mountain Water and Sanitation District, and we have been invited to sit in on that meeting. We picked a date, so I'm sorry about that, but tomorrow, June 1st at 10 a.m., we will meet in Round Mountain Water and Sanitation District's office on the ground floor of the art gallery, which, pardon me, I only really know technically as the lettuce shed. I know it has a fancy name. If somebody can tell me that would be wonderful. But anyway, the art gallery on the way out of town, headed towards the fairgrounds. So gentlemen, all three of us are invited to sit in with that. Currently, Dick Sturmer, Paul Winkie, Steve Laswell, any of us that can make it, and George Medeiros and possibly their manager will be at that meeting. Kind of as a fact-finding to get to the facts and not, as George says, there's a lot of half-truths and untruths floating around, and I said, I think in a position of leadership in our county, we need to be a little more informed. So you're formally invited to that meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I will certainly be there if you guys can't. I will represent us. I also wanted to say, Jay, thank you for representing our county at the COG meetings. I know that's a drive down there, and I was unable to make those. So personally, I want to thank you for covering for me and for the commission as a whole. Appreciate that. Attorney items. Anything else, gentlemen, before we move on? Counselor?
Well, I attended that health and safety response team meeting, the weed board meeting. I was at the Justice Center committee meeting yesterday. I've given legal advice to various department heads upon their request. The sheriff specifically had a Cora request that he wanted some advice, and then Donna also had a Cora, and I guess you did it as well. At least she had your name on it, so it was the one where they wanted a whole bunch of records, and I suggested a procedure to be followed. I guess it was Virginia, actually.
Virginia, yeah.
That's what it was. Let's see. Whenever I meet with Jackie Hobby, it's always an adventure. I went on a field trip. My wife and I went on a field trip with her.
I read that in the paper.
A couple of weeks ago, and she sort of informally deputized me now to do her job. I'm out looking at zoning violations for her, so she can just sit back with her feet up.
Good.
So
Increase in salary?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need to talk about that.
That'd be part of it. Done some legal research. The Justice Center, and that's even though it's on the agenda as Judicial Center Committee Report, the official name of the committee is the Justice Center Committee, and that's on the agenda a little bit later. I expect, based on that meeting, and there was a consensus reached on a certain recommendation I think is going to be presented to the board later. I just want to emphasize for the record that all the commissioners were there, but the commissioners did not participate in the voting. The voting was by the other members of that committee. And in anticipation of what's going to be recommended, I prepared a draft of a memorandum of understanding I'll present to you so we can get started from there.
Thank you.
I guess that's about all I've been doing.
Okay.
You don't let the grass grow under your feet. This was just suggested yesterday, it's already done.
But
It's a draft. It's a draft.
there was probably an extended effort on that, and you wasn't able to address, Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Administrative assistant items?
I have nothing at this
Thank
time.
you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Unfinished business, gentlemen?
I don't have any.
Nor do I. Commissioner Camden?
No.
I would just say quickly, as a point of clarification, because I know something was requested to be put on the agenda. The definition of an unfinished item of business is any item of business that the Board of Commissioners were actively in the middle of when, for whatever unforeseen reason, that the meeting was either terminated or some other activity precluded the Board of Commissioners from finishing that particular item of business. That is really technically the only time an unfinished item of business would be brought back onto the agenda. It doesn't matter if something was talked about before or not. We certainly have stuff on the agenda under new business that we had talked about in previous meetings, but unfinished business pretty specific about what would be listed there and what wouldn't. So hearing none, we'll move on to new business. I would also add that we do allow public comment for each item that we will be voting on today. You're welcome to do that. I would ask that you direct your comments to the Board of County Commissioners and not people in the audience. If you have a question for somebody in the audience, you could direct that question to the commissioners. then they will make a decision. Typically, the chair would determine whether or not to defer that question to someone in the audience. So you're welcome to have public comment prior to the vote on any items of business. So we will move on, review the vouchers. I'm assuming, gentlemen, you have an opportunity to review said vouchers. Chair would entertain a motion of approving the vouchers as presented.
I'll
Thank
second.
you, sir. It's been moved and seconded to approve the May vouchers as presented. Any discussion about that?
I didn't see anything unusual.
Yeah, I had a couple things, but I'm not going to go into them. I visited with Donna, and she said there wasn't really anything outside of the norm. So I know there was a couple lost checks in there that we were repaying those for the tourism board. It's actually, if I understand correctly, one check, correct, for the two different amounts, $1,000 and $74.65. So any further discussion, debate? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the vouchers, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Come in, sir. The vouchers have been approved. We'll need to initial these. And while we are doing that, I would just tentatively move on to the zoning resolution and amendments. If those people are here, would you like to come forward? Do you want to present from where you're at? What's your pleasure
Let's
there?
come forward.
All right, so while we're doing the signing these vouchers, if whoever is making that presentation, you're welcome to bring your chairs with you. There's one here, by the way. There'll be no sitting before the obligatory handshake.
I do.
Good morning, sir. How are you? Good to see you. Vic.
An air shake.
You just didn't have shake with.
Oh, I did? Oh, you
good?
You already signed them? Wow. I loan my pen or no?
If you're not going to sit in a good chair, I will. Go ahead and start.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for your time here. We really appreciate that, and I'll try to be very brief to start out. We're here representing the Planning Commission and presenting the revised or the amended county resolution. And like most of them, these amendments are very drawn-out processes, and this one met our expectations. We started in 2016. I was going to go through and give a little bit of chronology, but in the interest of time, I know Bill wants to go down to Parkview. Starting in 2018, we had our public, there was a lot of revisions and ideas put before basically an ad hoc committee of Jackie, myself, and Skip Northcross. Then we would incorporate these changes into new drafts. Right now, what we're presenting to you is draft 9, so there's been a lot of paper generated. But we had a public meeting on February 5th, and then subsequently a couple more public meetings. On May 1st, we had our regular Planning Commission meeting. We held at the bowling alley. And at that time, the Planning Commission approved draft 9 for presentation to you. And then on the 7th, Jackie sent out to you email versions of the draft 9 as well as hard copies. So with that, Commissioner Chairman, unless you have further questions on the chronology, I'll leave it up to you, your pleasure, how you want to proceed.
Okay, thank you, sir. I guess Chair would entertain some discussion from the commissioners about, obviously, I'm assuming we've all reviewed the document. Yes, sir.
I reviewed it at length and read it multiple times. And what I would like to do, I'd like to recommend to the chair that there's significant changes in here that are changes in philosophy, changes in methodology, changes in things. And what I would really like to do, if I can suggest to you, Mr. Chairman, is that we do this in a workshop where we have time set aside. We can go through the individual items that are being changed and ask Mr. Barnes to explain what is the philosophy behind them so I understand better what we're trying to do. Some of these looked strange to me, not being in this realm of the county. So I would like to better understand what's going on. So rather than take an hour or two or more going through all of my comments that I have written down, I'd like to suggest we do this as a workshop where we can have the leisure and the time to go through this properly.
Okay, thank you, sir.
The statutory procedure requires before the commissioners make a vote on these proposed amendments, it says the county commissioner shall hold a public hearing on the proposed amendments. At least 14 days notice has to be given to the public. So I think perhaps the next step is to schedule this public hearing. And everybody, including the commissioners, can have their input on it at that time. But that's what's going to be required before you can vote on it anyway.
Okay. And I would see that, if you don't mind, sir, as two separate items, if I may.
Sure.
The public hearing for the public to have their input, but I would like to have an open discussion as to what the changes are, the ramifications of them, and what prompted them, what the thought behind it is, so I have a better understanding. And then a public meeting certainly would make sense also, but I'd like it as separate items if I take.
Okay. Mr. Canada?
I don't have the same concerns at all. I understand it, but I understand, that's fine if you're having problems. When did you give them to us? When did we have the final copy?
This final copy, May 7th.
May 7th. So I had plenty of time to look at it from my own point of view and ask questions. But you're right, I did not ask in public. How many, and when you guys had your meeting, they were open meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So did you have public comment much?
Yes.
So that's what I view the commission to be doing for us, is to work with the public to represent their opinions, and that's why we have them commissioned in the first place. I don't want to reinvent a wheel every time with all our boards. So I'm good with understand the 14-day notice
And
maybe as a final.
I would take this 14-day notice as this meeting. That's the way that we've handled it before. We've had numerous workshops. They're all been opened. We've had public attend the numerous workshops that we've had. We've had them during the day. We've had at night and stuff concerning some other subjects. So my take on the 14-day notice is what was the 14-day notice for this. Because that's the way that previously this is the 14-day notice.
Did you publish
From here
it in
forward,
the
you mean?
paper 14 days in advance?
The commissioners do, because they're the ones that,
But the agenda wasn't published 14 days in advance.
No, I feel, if I may, don't mean to interrupt you, go ahead if you have something else you want to.
you don't publish your agenda 14 days before?
24 hours it came.
So in light of, and I'm assuming that would be your legal advice to us, is to
There
schedule
needs to
a
be a
formal,
and not just publishing the agenda, but a
Right.
separate notice in the
Sure.
paper.
That's fair.
that is how I would feel that we're to be compliant with state statutes. That's probably what we need to do, is schedule a formal, I would assume we can call it a public hearing. Commissioner Prince, were you indicating that you felt like the public hearing would be different than the workshop?
Yes. I'd like a workshop and a public hearing.
Okay. Commissioner Canada, do you have an issue with that?
I don't think we need a workshop. We've had that, they've had it. I
We have not
understand.
had a workshop.
We had, no.
No.
But
Okay.
that's why we have a hearing, to understand what the issues are before we vote. We're not going to be able to ask questions in that workshop, other than to clarify something that we should have asked by now.
Yes.
And I have asked, so I don't want to beat a dead horse personally.
Well, we're getting ready to beat a dead horse if we do it today, I can
No, I
tell you
wanna
that,
do it today.
because I've got a ton of comments, questions, changes. Sorry. suggested changes.
And we should, I don't know that we need to necessarily do it today because of the 14-day notice issues is real.
Right, I don't think we'd be legal to vote on it today. We could certainly have a conversation about it today.
So we ought to probably talk about when the 14-day
Right.
ought to be scheduled.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Prince. I think a workshop would be adequate, and then subsequent public hearing after that. Is that your
I would
basic
appreciate
intent?
that. I have so many questions. I also have this being looked at by Dennis Hunt,
Okay.
who is the county commissioner guru from Denver.
Knowing
Over
well.
certain concerns I have in certain areas to see if my interpretation is right. I'd really would like to hear from
That's fair.
the commission as to what is it that they're doing, because some of it doesn't, on the surface to me, did not appear to be, I don't know. I need more information.
What's your feelings about that, folks?
That's fine.
I mean, we've been in this over 2 years. We certainly are going to comply by the Colorado revised statutes on the 14-day public
Yeah,
hearing.
I'm not really certain. This is the first time, and if you look in the front there, you'll see we've been through a number of amendments, and this is the first time that we've had, that I can recall. Pat, can you recall the time when we've had, once we've given it to them, and we've had another public meeting? We may have, but I don't remember. It's not the standard procedure, but I'm fine with whatever you come up with.
So let's pick the 14-day meeting and then we can figure out when to schedule a workshop.
I'd like to workshop before the meeting, so we
Right.
always go, yeah.
That's my point.
Well, in
Before
14
which
days, you
meeting
gotta
is
have
fine.
your public notice in. You can have it in this Friday and next Friday, and that would cover your 14 days.
Not this Friday.
Not this Friday, it's already too late? Oh, yeah. Sorry about that, I forget. That holiday messed me up. So anything after the 18th, correct?
I would
That's May.
think so. June 8th. I would think the 25th, not the 26th probably, because that's election day, primary election. 25th, 27th.
27th, we have a justice meeting. I'm also going to be in Canyon on the Arkansas. 25th works fine for me.
Commissioner Kendall?
20,
And that's for but then you're gonna set up a workshop earlier.
Prior to that, correct.
what's on the 28th? What day is that?
It's a Thursday. I'll be gone on a weed tour.
Affordable health.
He's gonna be gone.
What? You have a
25th is all right with me.
25th, Jay, you said you're in.
25th is fine with me.
Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah, we do have a meeting at 10 o'clock. Or I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, sorry. What, 1 o'clock?
Can we get the courtroom for that? I imagine it's going to
Yeah, have to have a big room.
The 25th is on
That's a Monday.
usually the court's good to go. It's
Ms.
just
Brenda,
Thursday.
did we check on that real quick?
Is that for your public hearing?
What are we,
Yeah.
what are we checking on?
People that work.
What do you want checked on?
Would you check on the courtroom, see if it's available on the 25th, either afternoon or evening? I would entertain either one.
She's got a good point.
Yeah.
20
Ms. Brenda?
evening.
Yes,
Would you check on the afternoon or evening?
afternoon or evening.
So this is for the public hearing.
That's correct, public hearing. Gentlemen, do you have a preference, afternoon or evening?
I like the thought that
With respect to
do it in the
the
evening.
people at work, if they want to have input on that?
The nice thing about evening, I feel probably more people could attend who may want to, so I would be in favor of that, but I'll entertain whatever you suggest.
Same here.
And while we're waiting on Ms. Brenda, I would anticipate then putting this back on the agenda for the June 29th meeting.
Yes.
I think that would be reasonable, don't you? And we can always take it off if something else occurs, but
Okay, It's open all day on the 25th.
Okay, evening included?
Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, what's your preference?
Evening.
I would think you
Time? 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
You okay with that, Mr. Barnes?
Yes, I am.
Ms. Hobby?
Yes.
Jackie will do the notice, the publication of the notice.
Now, will this notice be for a public hearing
Yes.
for the planning commission or for the BOCC?
BOCC.
Then you do the notice.
Me personally.
No.
Wait. Time out. I thought this meeting was to discuss, is this a planning meeting?
This is the public hearing, and then we were going to come up with a workshop.
A workshop before the public hearing? Okay.
Correct.
Is it a BOCC?
I'm
meeting?
assuming you've given us the document now.
We
The
have.
meeting
So
before
that's
to
why I
ask
was
questions
assuming it
should
would
be
be a
Jackie's.
BOCC.
It's a
It
BOCC,
should
yeah.
be a BOCC notice.
And the
And-
workshop would be,
And
The workshop,
we'll have
Uh,
Mr.
doing it for
Brenda.
us.
yeah.
Okay.
But the
Mr. Brenda, make
BOCC
sure we get that
requested it,
posted.
so you will do all the
Do you have a
notices.
time?
Yes, 6 o'clock on June 25th in the courtroom, public hearing to hear comments and discussion concerning the proposed zoning resolution, amended zoning resolution.
Correct.
And I believe, Counselor, we only have to put notice in the paper one time,
Right.
as long as we're put that in prior to the 14
They
days.
got a couple
It would
comments.
not be a hearing though, would it?
It calls it a public hearing in the statute.
The
Then-
workshop?
No,
No,
we're
no,
talking
no,
about
no,
hearing
workshop.
first.
Okay.
We
The
set that
workshop.
date.
We haven't
Okay, I
discussed
thought I
the
heard the
workshop.
Yeah,
workshop.
we'll talk.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into the workshop yet.
So,
But the public hearing, public is allowed to comment, so we need to, the notice needs to make it clear this is available online for people to look at,
Right.
anybody that wants to attend and address it.
Great idea.
And do we have the proposed amended resolution online? Have you posted that to the county website? So we probably need to do that as well then.
I would do the red line copy so people can see.
I think you would do that after we have our workshop, it's going to change. That's the question. That's if you're going to really get serious
What's
about a
your-
workshop.
What's your feeling about that?
I'll just put it online right now. And then, he's got a good point, because if we're gonna go back and clean it up, it's not gonna be the
It's
true
gonna
one, but we
confuse
want it
everybody.
online so people can look at it. It's a large
But
document.
we can't make any changes at a workshop. We could just discuss it, we
Just
can
discuss it.
learn. And then at the actual BOCC meeting subsequent to the online.
Yeah, you can do it.
Then we can decide.
Now, at the hearing that you're gonna have, the 25th, it's a public hearing. So you can vote that night, whether you're gonna take it, accept it or not. Is that correct?
They
Could.
Yeah, they could.
So we don't need the 29th meeting.
That's right.
We could just do the 25th, and after the public hearing, you could vote.
If that's what the commissioners choose to do. If not, then I'll put it on the agenda anyway. If we do vote on it on the 25th, I'll delete it from the agenda. But to meet our 24-hour notice, if we have to vote on it on the 29th, it will have already been on the agenda. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't know what the commissioners are going to want to do on the 25th, whether they'll vote on it that night or not. In order for us to do that, we will have to convene a meeting of the commissioners. It'll have to be recorded.
You wouldn't want to have a public hearing on something you think, if we haven't had a
I don't wanna vote at
workshop.
the public meeting.
No.
I want to vote at a
You would
BOCC
want to
meeting.
have a final discussion with the public and listen to them, and then if you believe that everything's fine, you vote. You can do that.
Yeah, because at a hearing, you can vote at a hearing.
Well, we will make that
That's a
determination.
decision at the time, and in theory, there should have been time to fix the
'Cause it's a
comments
meeting,
because
you
we
can
had a
vote.
workshop and you see the comments.
Okay, so now we need the workshop date.
Yes, hold on just a second. So I will add the proposed amended resolution, zoning resolution, to the agenda.
On the 29th.
That's
Or-
correct.
Correct.
On
that's
the
fine.
29th.
I'd like to vote it.
And again, if the commissioners decide to do something different than that, we can delete it.
Correct.
But at least we will have it on there if we need it.
Correct.
So the public hearing will be at 6 o'clock, June 25th in the courtroom. I will check with counselor to make sure we need to do what we need to do as a commission legally to be, whether we're in session or not, whether we'll treat it as a workshop and go from there. Tentative date for a workshop prior to that date, then, gentlemen. Do you guys have input? Would you like to meet a significant amount of time prior to that so that if the results of that workshop would include some other changes, you'd have time to do that, or
Yes, please.
what would your
Yeah, we need
preference there be?
That's the 18th, that's the Monday before. That'd be a week for revisions.
Can we do it sooner than that?
Let's look. I would think.
11th works for me too,
Okay.
or the 13th.
You will be gone
Yeah.
on the 11th, Commissioner
Yep, I'll be
Kanda?
gone.
Sorry, I didn't know.
That's
I
the
didn't-
Mountain Connect, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's
The
right.
13th would be good for me, Wednesday,
We'll do it then.
June 13th. Is that
Make it in
enough
the
time in
afternoon.
advance?
Afternoon.
What's your calendar look like?
I'm good.
Mr. Kanda, 1 o'clock?
Okay, on the
Is
13th.
that all right?
Not morning?
No. Afternoon?
Brenda, do you have the schedule of that Mountain Connect? I don't have it with me. Does it get done on Wednesday?
It's 11 to 3.
It's 11
Yeah. you'll be
on
done.
Wednesday. But I got
No,
to
it's not on Wednesday. It's on the 11th.
on the 11th. It was Monday and Tuesday, I thought. So we're good.
So you okay with that, Mr. Barnes?
I think so. I don't have a schedule with me at all.
I'm sorry. June 13th.
Okay, let me ask Clint. Clint, because I think there's some consternation over what a hearing is. I've been involved in before in other areas, but maybe you ought to check. But a public hearing, you're presenting the final copy of what you want to do to the public, and you can vote on it. I just want to make sure what the process is, because that that should be what we're presenting. It's not a workshop,
No, it's a public hearing.
Right.
It'll be recorded from the beginning,
right?
and you do have the right to vote on it then.
That's right, and so why it's important to do what Jackie's saying here is get enough time so when we have our seance that we can include whatever the issues might be or to fix. So, and any other points from the public?
And get the 10th draft up as quick as possible for people to see.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Got another question in the back.
So when will this copy right now be up?
It'll be up probably the end of the day, hopefully.
Okay.
The workshops can be 1.
1 o'clock on the 13th of June.
Got it.
Would you like to try to have that in the courtroom as well?
Probably.
Or do you want to do it here?
I'm up for whatever.
Let's schedule it here,
And if it's really overflowing, then we ought to get into the other room.
if it's available.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for that accommodation.
So during this workshop, will you be taking input from the public? Or will you wait until the
Probably
hearing?
wait until the public hearing.
Can't do that at a workshop, can you?
Sure.
Take public comment
Not take public
or
comment.
not take
Not
public
take
comment.
public comment.
The public is welcome to attend. It's a public meeting. That does not give them the right to have public input.
That's not our understanding. Well,
This is not a planning and zoning workshop. This is a Board of County Commissioners workshop.
well,
Different rules
I
apply?
understand that,
I
Tom,
would
but
think so, yeah, I'm not sure about
in
yours.
2016, the BOCC had a couple of workshops on specific parts of the amendment, and that they allowed public comment on it.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I know it's been done the other way.
But we're going to have an opportunity for public comment.
I will research that.
I
know
think
the
you can
workshop.
set the rules for the workshop, whether you want public comment or not. Workshops are not a statutory thing, it's something that's just
Something that
developed.
we're doing to understand. And it doesn't hurt, it is an open meeting, and they can certainly come.
I will give you my philosophy behind that because I think you deserve that as a planning commission. The public hearing, in my opinion, is the opportunity for the public to have input. The workshop is a Board of County Commissioners workshop, is an opportunity for the three of us to sit down and work with you as a planning commission to go through whatever changes or questions we have. Public will be invited to do that at the public hearing. That's my philosophy. It doesn't mean it can't change or I can't be overruled by that, but that's where I'm coming from.
If I can add, that's why I asked for the workshop, so that we can understand what it is you're doing. The public will have plenty of opportunity to discuss what they want to do.
Okay, and to clarify what you said earlier, you said that you sent this to Dennis Hunt. Is he a lawyer?
He doesn't know.
No.
And you have not sent it to him yet, have you?
No, but I'm
No, so I guess my concern is we have a lawyer.
It has nothing to do with lawyer. It has to do with the commissioner group who knows how
Dennis
this
Hunt's
document is used in every county in the state. He understands what zoning and planning regulations are, and I would just like to have his input into it. I'm just telling, I mean, I didn't have to mention that, I just mentioned it because I thought it was a courtesy to let you know that, you know, if I have some comments, I may say to you, this is my concern, and Dennis Hunt suggested this kind of language, or he said it was fine. I don't really know, I want to use as many.
And that doesn't mean we take his advice.
Of
It's
course
just
not.
advice.
It's just, I
And
would just
each
like to
county
get
is its
additional
unique.
input. Additional input.
So let me clarify. Dennis Hunt is the executive director of Colorado Counties Incorporated. It is an advisory and legislative group that represents 57 of the 64 counties in Colorado. They certainly offer a lot of services that I won't go into, but well within your rights, sir, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we could share this document with anybody to try to get some additional input or direction.
I think I'm going to put it online with the red lines on it so that...
Yeah, and I think Jackie said she was going to do that, right? That's a red line copy.
It was said minutes ago I was going to do that by the end of the day.
Yep. Okay. Other questions, comments? Mr. Barnes, anything, sir?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Mrs. Hobby?
No, thank you.
Gentlemen?
Sounds good.
Okay, we will defer then to June the 13th at 1 o'clock.
And it is my understanding that since these are two BOCC, you will be doing the public notices.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
We will do the appropriate public notice for the workshop, which happens to be 24 hours. And I will instruct Miss Brenda to post this
So we need to get
14 days in advance, which doesn't legally commit us to put that in the paper or papers. We could post it right here in the courthouse, I believe, and be within the legal. But I think in fairness to the community, I will ask Miss Brenda to put that in both newspapers.
for what, the workshop?
No,
The public hearing, I think you have to. Public.
we have to give
Put it in
14 days notice. We may, I'll have to check with counselor, we may have to put it in the paper of record.
I would think you would.
It says it has to be published in the paper. The statute says that.
In the
so-
public, in the paper of
Yes,
record.
yes.
Okay, good. All right, Miss
So you
Brenda, we
want it
okay
in
there?
both?
Yes, ma'am. Anything else, gentlemen, before we move on?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, folks.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Shake your hand goodbye.
I guess not.
Oh, goodbye.
Next item of business, Custer County Kids Council. Good boy, how are you? Come in, bring your chair around. Not every day your daughter gets to sit before the commissioner. Good morning, how are you, Kathy? Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you again.
Hi.
Good, nice to see you again.
Hi, nice to meet you. You want to bring your guest up or not? I don't know what your plan was.
My guess that, I think
No.
that's
Oh, okay, all right.
That's Sean's guess.
I got you. We have a guest, just not yours.
That's right.
Very cool.
So thank you for allowing us to come before you again, and it's been our intent to keep you informed of what we are doing. And while we are here to talk about the possibility of the county becoming our fiscal agent, I would like to first just do some other overview information, and I will make it quick under the circumstances. If you have information for each of you.
Thanks.
And I remembered to bring one for you this time. And if you just go inside, there's this one's written all over, but there's a handout like this that just is, and I'm not going to go over it, but it's for your information. It's just kind of your update on things that have been happening since I was here in January. There's also a copy of our brochure that's in there to help remind you of who we are and our board. That brochure has been handed out at a number of events over the past few months. We were at and a number of parents have received it, and we have actually had very positive feedback from parents and families. The booklet that you have is the results of the survey that I told you we were going to do. And it was a survey of families, and then in the back part is a survey of school staff. And I won't take you through it because of time, but I will give you a couple of highlights. In terms of the family survey, we felt pretty successful in that we got 100 surveys back from 100 families. And because we are targeting children ages 0 to 8, we asked for your children's ages, and those surveys represented 150 children that were ages 0 to 8. We don't know for sure, but in our county we generally figure that there's somewhere between 200 and 250 children, and we don't have the real clip on the ages. So we feel as though we reached a good majority of the families in the survey. There are some caveats in terms of interpreting the data, things where numbers kind of didn't make sense, but part of it is, we learned a lot in terms of doing the survey, how you might do things differently. But some of the families didn't answer all questions, or when we asked them to check all the areas that applied, they just kind of did the first one, that sort of thing. Kind of the big takeaway from it, I guess I will say in terms of what might be important for you in our demographic information, is that our families, the majority of them, it shows as the majority of them being here less than 5 years. The fact of the matter is, if you really analyze it year by year, the majority of them are here 2 years or less. We have it feels like there may be some transiency. There's a big gap then, and then we have the families that have been here 10 years or more. I think those are...
Next question, please. I don't mean to interrupt, but...
No, do so.
Do you feel that you're able to reach the Amish Mennonite community fairly well?
We really tried to reach that community. We know for sure we got two, it's hard to know exactly who gave that because it doesn't have a thing that says, oh, are you? But we know for sure that at least 2 of them came from the Amish population. We also know that we received a few that were from the homeschool population. Obviously, you get more from the school population. It outlines in your introduction all the places we went. But we hit the sharing center every Friday. We were at the WIC office. We just went to a number of areas where we thought there might be some of our in-need families as well. And in those places, we basically sat and had them do the survey right there. So. The other thing is in terms of where they live, and the majority of them live either in Westcliff or Silver Cliff proper, but and very, very few live out west. But that's just the demographic piece. So we looked at healthcare, we looked at childcare, we looked at preschool, we looked at...
Just out of curiosity, because you brought it up. So what is the population spread of the school at large? How many are rural kids and how many live in the town?
Well, we don't have that
How many rural? Does the school have that data? They
The
must.
school would have that data.
Why
Yeah,
wouldn't-
we didn't include that in here, but
Why
what
wouldn't
we
that
have.
matter? It seems like it would.
Because, well, what we were looking at were families that, we're looking at that 0 to 8 population. We're looking at the children before they get to school. We are trying really hard to get services and get families involved and to recognize the need for targeting
Sure.
children prior to school.
There's
So
gotta be-
that's
there's
what
gotta
this
be-
survey
There's gotta be some rural
was.
kids in that category.
Oh yeah, there are rural kids, and if you look in your, there's a chart in there, and it will show you the layout in terms of the location and residence. So
Of the
it's- yeah,
surveys
right here.
you sent out.
Of the
But
surveys
I'm
that
just-
we receive, and I'm sure it's pretty reflective of the school, because keep in mind, we also were at the elementary parent conferences, so we hit all parents preschool to grade 3. So.
May I interject? Look at your location of residence chart and the descriptive out to the left. The statement is 44% of our families with young children live within the township. I'm assuming the word "our" there means of the families that were surveyed, not our families as in Custer County's families. Is that correct? I mean, all of this data
Yes,
is representative
yes.
only
There's
of the people
60%
Of the people that completed the survey. Yes.
So, okay, thank you.
Yes.
So certainly
Yes.
the numbers
That's
could
what
be
those-
different.
It'd be
It-
skewed quite a bit.
Right.
Okay.
So in terms of healthcare, just hitting the highlights, families thought lack of services was, and I don't think that was a surprise to any of us. Childcare, very few families use any of our licensed daycare. We know that neither of our licensed home daycares are filled, yet they do identify availability as an issue, so we need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, I find that interesting stat too, that none needed are almost
Isn't that
as
huge?
high
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
any.
exactly.
So-
And there's no way to know what that is. Again, learning first time, I think, in maybe 3 years when we do it again, we would have something to help us identify that. But I'm assuming that most of those mean that they may feel there's none needed because they have family that live with them, or it's like one person working, and someone that is able to provide childcare. It's hard to know.
Yeah, you would assume that means they don't need any daycare. They're doing it in home. Yeah.
So, so I'm going to, let you look at the others and skip over to what families saw as greatest need, just in the interest of time. And the 3 that they identified as greatest need in the county were, and most of them are not a surprise, but quality health care, quality food and nutrition for families, and quality family programs. And that was the one that kind of surprised us. So then you go to the next page that looks like this, and we asked them for their comments at the end. And so we took all, and what they thought, what we could provide, what's the one thing we could do that would really be the thing that would really move things forward for families and children, really young children in the county. And I categorized their comments, and I probably should have put a few key ones in there, but it's hard because then it gives some people more voice than others. But if you look at the 2 big bars, they are looking at activities for young children, and the biggest bar is healthcare, pediatrician, obstetrician.
And what's your scale 0 to 25 represent there?
That would be just the number of comments. Because, if you take that out with the 100 people, it's, so it's just the number of comments. Okay? The next piece is the school staff survey. We hit, that's a terrible word. We were able to reach every school, every teacher, every specialist, and and almost all the BOCES staff. BOCES are the outside special ed people that come into the school. And we were looking at the needs in the numbers. We asked them about the number in their classrooms, who was receiving what kind of services, if there were any services they thought kids needed but were not receiving. We did have, they 16 children were identified as being in need of services but not receiving the support. And when asked what type of services, it was all social emotional support. So if you look at that little graph below it, if you take the number of children who are receiving social emotional support and the number of children in need of but not receiving that social emotional support, That is the greatest number, and it's more than 25%. And this is only for grades pre-K to grade 3. I think it says something about what we need to be paying attention to. Keep in mind, and I do have caveats down there, but keep in mind the same child could be in more than one category here. In other words, you could have a student who is receiving special education services who is also in that social emotional group. So,
And the school staff survey was 4th grade and under only,
it was for
correct?
grade up through grade 3. Did not go above grade 3.
Oh, okay.
Did not include
below grade 4. Thank you.
below grade 4. And then on the last page, the staff were asked from their perspective what they thought was most needed in Custer County in terms of children's readiness and success. And I will let you look at those comments, but I categorize those again, and it's in family support and education and the big social emotional education and support. And some of those comments are a little bit heart-wrenching. So with that, just to do my little fact check for you one time, if you look at the second page of what was our summary of what we've been doing, my little pitch for you today is just letting you know we do plan to target social emotional well-being. We have a workshop training for our providers scheduled for June 21st. We are looking at ways to get more supports into the elementary grade in the school, but science has shown us that the foundation for mental health and well-being is built early in life, and therefore one of the best ways for positive mental health and prevent problems later in life is to start early. And I think in light of what we are looking at nationwide, what we're saying about mental health, what we're saying about what's happening in our schools and everything else, I think we need to pay attention to that. Every person in the community matters. Every relationship that a child has during those first 5 years or whatever, whether it's positive or negative, has a profound and lasting effect on how the brain develops, and science is showing us that. Their brain development is primarily established by the time they enter school, if they do not enter school prior to kindergarten.
So without getting very in-depth here, just a quick question. What does getting to them early mean? What do? You talk to them? You talk to parents? What happens?
We can provide those kinds of things in our county that bring them to the forefront. We all can be addressing our children. We all can be showing that positive nurturing. We can be looking for those who are in need. So physically, what do
you do program-wise? You put out print public.
We are not going to be doing the programming. What we are looking to do is it's to bring a collaborative of all the groups that are happening. That's why our board is such as it is. And I will get to you, if you can hold 1 minute, what our plan is in terms of the next step. But that it's exactly what we need to be paying attention to. And just from the standpoint of dollars, and I did put one thing in there, that they've done economic research, and for every dollar that is spent on an early childhood program or service, there's a future savings of between $3 and $17. And it talks about how intervening early can really reduce risk down the road and lower crime rates, lower dependence on public assistance. But the biggie is that you also get a better school completion, a better workforce, higher earnings. So I just bring that. And just in terms of our county, when I was the presentation by Kids Count in Colorado, and they track all of our data. In the state of Colorado is the 6th in the nation in terms of increasing growth with young children. That our numbers of young are increasing, and Custer County is also. So I did not make. I only have one copy of this, but this shows that since 1991 to now, we've had over a 25% increase in children who are that fit our 0 to 8 population. The other sad part about it is that Custer County, on this map, it's looking at child poverty by county. The darker the color, the greater the increase in child poverty. The lighter the color, the less increase. And if you look, Custer County is sitting right here, and we are next to the darkest. So our poverty levels for children No. Okay. So there's our purpose. In terms of some of our activities that we are planning, and this is where I would like to invite one or any of you to attend, is that on June 14th at 5 o'clock, we are holding our kind of a work session. Instead of having a June and July meeting, we're holding a work session. We are inviting other groups to join us. We now know that we have StarPoint coming, and they are the people who provide services for special needs children 0 to 3. We have some people, we are trying to get people from our arts community there, and I just received notice that both In Concert and the Art Guild are sending people. We have other invitations out there. We clearly will have public health, and I have met with public health, DHS. I have met with the school superintendent and shared all of this. I had a meeting with some of the school staff yesterday. So we're incorporating all of that, but that will be the time when we will be setting our actions for July of this year to June of next year, and how we're going to respond to some of what we've learned. We are starting with a dinner that's catered by Marion Williams from 5 to 6, so you will be fed if you decide to come. But we would greatly appreciate your coming. I think that if you look on the list, and I won't go over the activities, but we've done a number of things in terms of expanding health care in the area.
On my calendar, I have that at the school. Is that what it's going to be?
No, that is going to be, it's going to be at the back room, 2nd Street Kitchen in the back room.
Thanks for telling me how to understand.
Yeah, and we will be sending out our final, head count invitation probably next week, so we know how many are coming.
Yeah, there's also economic development meeting scheduled that same day.
Right.
But I would certainly think some representation from the commissioners would be.
It would be nice if we just had,
Would that be the economic meeting?
I believe it's at Cliff Lanes,
That evening? It is, isn't it?
5:30.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
In terms of some of the other things that we're doing, yes, we've done things in terms of expanding healthcare, and we want that to continue. And we have the listing of what we've done thus far, and some of the other services we've brought into the county. We want to focus on some professional development, and actually, we have a social emotional workshop scheduled for June 21st for child care providers here. That meeting that we do on the 14th will be, here's what we think we would like to do and how we're going to outline it. And I guess I will just say that we have also been gradually coordinating and facilitating a lot of connections throughout the county, and bringing local agencies together so that we are working in tandem. And with that, we have also submitted our Office of Early Childhood grant for July to June of next year. There were some changes in that, and we won't know exactly what they decide on that until probably after the 1st of July. They're a little behind. They're going to let us operate under our little budget till then. We have also applied for a grant with the Buell Foundation, and I've been up to meet with them, and it's looking hopeful that we'll get something from them, whether we get all that we're asking for. And that kind of leads us to where we are now in asking the county to become our fiscal agent. Right now...
I was just going to comment from my fellow commissioners. When this program... Is it okay if I...
Yeah,
okay.
Please do.
When this program originally started, Butch Garman came in, and the fiscal agent is someone who is actually an employee of the county. The money is a pass-through commodity. The money comes in, it goes into our treasury and goes back out to pay a staff member. I've met with Kathy, of course, and we've met with Donna Hobby, and she says it's a very easy accounting fix. I just wanted to bring you guys up to date. Prior administration, we discussed this. We being the county, originally offered to be the fiscal agent for this organization. At the time, they chose to have the school be the fiscal agent. A complication arose when the school, and please jump in if I'm saying this wrong, the school was required to put money into.
Yeah, the school needs, even as a part-time employee,
Right.
our council has to pay into para.
Para, that's
And
what it is.
para is a 19.5% hit on
Right.
on salary dollars, and it's a pretty substantial amount of money for an organization that's running on a shoestring.
I met with Butch, and he asked if the county would reconsider to take over that, because we would not be required, they would not be required to pay the para portion of this.
So what does that mean? They're part-time employees of the county
It's a part-time employee.
I would
of the
become a
county.
part-time employee of the county.
and paid 100% by some grant or state fund?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And the
And
Out
the
of our
money
own
we
monies.
sponsor would be the time it takes to administer the dollar.
Right, what Donna's time.
And Dawn and I spoke about that at length, and she felt it was a very minimal additional workload on her to do this.
What you have to do, cut different checks, different amounts for different things?
Yeah, and it's not even that many, because most of it happens when I submit monthly, and basically I ask for reimbursement on, that monthly invoice that also has my hours. So, in terms of what the school has had to do, and I know that Donna has talked to Amy Perschbauer about it, and Amy has shared with her what's happening, but I basically get 2 checks a month, one for my salary, one for my
So we
hours
have to-
worked, and one for reimbursement.
We have to provide insurance for and all
That's where I
that?
was just going to go with that. The insurance, additional insurance cost to insure the part-time person was less than $5 a month, according to Donna. So it was de minimis. I mean, it was not enough to really be concerned.
There's just one of you?
Yes, I'm the only paid employee, and I'm currently operating at 15 hours a week. I'm supposed to go to 20 hours a week starting July 1st.
How many do you really put in
Yeah.
a week? That's a different story. I'm not going there. But the bottom line is, it seems to make sense for the county to be the physical sponsor for this. Since it's not going to cost the county anything, it allows this great program to continue with our preschool children. The agreement that we have discussed, as Kathy Butch and I have discussed, is that if any time the grant goes away, our sponsorship would go away at the same time.
So what are the requirements for a sponsor then? It can be anybody? What is it? You're shopping around for a sponsor, so I'm curious.
Oh, in terms of a fiscal agent?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fiscal agent needs to be an existing entity within the county, and they prefer that it be some, major governmental,
Could be the
type
fire
of agent.
department. It could be the
Well,
hospital
yeah, I think
district.
they would have a hard time with a
I'm
stretch.
just asking.
I will
I'm
say,
trying to figure out
yeah,
what this is.
and that's why we talked about that I would probably end up either under public health or the Department of Human Services. Donna felt like either
We
one of
talked
those.
about under Alyssa Magnuson, public health is where
Public
I thought we
health,
were gonna
yeah,
go.
is probably where we were going to go.
I spoke to Alyssa, she was fine with it too, she had no issue.
Um,
And just FYI, if you don't mind, I don't mean to interrupt you. The vast majority of the children's councils are the fiscal agent is the county board.
Right,
county
that's where I was
commissioner,
going.
county
The
board.
majority of them are under the county. There are a couple that are under a library district,
Correct.
and there's only one other that was under a school district, and we now know why,
Right.
because of the whole dollar.
We didn't know
What are we
repair.
legally obligated to do, though, Jay? What could be the ramification?
I
Is
really
there
don't know.
are there other?
God forbid she falls and
Why?
sues the
So
county or
why do
something.
library districts sponsor it? How does that happen?
I don't know. You'd have. I think actually the only one that I know directly, and I'm not sure they are under the library district anymore. I think they got big enough that they became a 501c3 under their own, and they had to apply for a special status to be accepted to do that. We're way too small. to even be approaching that. I will say that Wet Mountain Valley Community Foundation does allow us to operate under them if we want to apply for grants as a 501c3. This would be a governmental agency. I think the libraries, a lot of times, if you think about it, even our own library does so much for families and children. Our own library is very educationally focused. We are looking to kind of expand beyond the idea that it's about learning and development. It's so much more. It's learning and development. It's family support and education, and it's health and well-being, including mental health and well-being.
I hear you. What would happen if you don't get your grant to pay for something? Are we obligated to pick up if there's a program in existence?
No.
Whatever,
we do not pay for programs. We do not sponsor programs. We promote programs. We promote professional development. Most of what I do is networking, meeting with others.
So
I meet with the
request a grant,
school.
what are you requesting it for?
We're requesting it to be able to have some professional development opportunities. That means that we can bring in speakers, we can do things like that. We would pay for those things, but none of that would happen if we didn't get the grant.
That's what I'm asking.
Exactly.
Legally, are we obligated?
No,
to fill
because
the hole?
if the grant doesn't come through, then we just aren't going to be doing those things that we had requested from the grant money. The grant money from the state is mostly so that I can work with the licensed daycare providers, with the preschool, with the school itself. We have put together a written school readiness plan, starting to look at how are we going to reach kids starting age 0 before they get to school.
Could you briefly just tell the other commissioners about the state mandate for this and how the state's behind it?
Oh yeah, this actually comes from legislation.
Correct.
The state, it began back in 2008. They did pilots throughout the state by about, I'm going to say it was before, by about within 2 or 3 years of that time, they decided that early childhood councils were the way to go. This is the way to target reducing problems down the road. And it worked in conjunction with the Department of Education. And the Department of Education said, we're going to really start looking at kids coming into kindergarten and their readiness. That's going to be how we're going to decide whether or not we're making a difference. And so while the school had to start implementing more evaluation and putting together plans for where the kids come into kindergarten and where they are by grade 3, it was also the early childhood councils. By 2015, it was I think the legislature had said all counties should either have their own council or they should join an adjoining county. And we were one of the last ones to have a council.
I'd be interested in just seeing the law itself, just to see how it's worded, if you can find it. I don't need it right now.
No, I actually have.
And I would like to know whether it's a should or must in the verbiage.
I don't.
And if it was directed towards
Right.
Should.
Right. There's no must, and I was going to say,
So the money,
however,
yes.
at this point, I will say that 62 out of the 64 counties in the state have them, and the other 2 counties are in the process, I believe, of joining an adjoining county.
Right.
And we
county
looked
by meaning through the educational system or through the county commissioners?
No.
Two counties
Adjoining
will go
another
together.
early
they'll
childhood
combine, but
council.
I'm just saying, how are
Right.
they participating through the educational system like the law, or not the law, but the legislation said it was set up to be,
Well, it's more than one entity, because you've got the Office of Early Childhood, and then you also have the Colorado Department of Education, and they all have their own, but they
I'm just curious.
work together.
I know we want to expedite yours.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we're at.
So can I ask a question? Are you asking the Board of County Commissioners this time to vote to be the physical agent if they chose to vote?
That would be my request, because our target is that, because our fiscal year is July to June, we would like to have this happen so that when the new grant comes, or the new grants come into place, one of which would be in July. If we get the Buell grant, that would come, we'd get notified in August and it would come September 1st. But we would like to stick to our fiscal year such that the county would become our fiscal agent as of July 1st. That allows the school to close out under their fiscal year. And I've talked with Amy Perschbauer, and she and I will be working closely together so that what will happen is when I submit everything to Amy for as of June 30th, and we're going to do it just a little ahead so she has it, she will know exactly how much money we have left to transfer to the county, so it sits in the county coffers, because we also have a Children's Health Fund grant that is our cash flow grant. The state only gives us our money once it's been spent. The Buell grant, I believe, will come as a lump sum, I'm hoping, so that we don't have the cash flow problem. But right now we utilize a lot of the Children's Health Fund.
So that means we would have to fund it up front?
No, there would be never be. You don't have to fund anything. And as Jay was saying, the only thing that could be a cost, which I mean we could certainly add in and pay if we needed to, would be the the insurance.
So I would like to move that Custer County become, is it the fiscal agent or sponsoring agent?
Fiscal.
Fiscal agent. Fiscal agent.
Bookkeeper.
Well, yeah. The fiscal agent for the Custer County Kids Council on a pass-through basis only, with minimal cost to the county of the additional insurance only, effective July 1st.
I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded that Custer County become the fiscal agent for the Custer County Kids Council to deal with their pass-through monies on their fiscal year of July 1, June 31. Discussion.
Have you been involved in any discussion, Tom, at all?
Not a lot. Some. I have spoken to Donna Hobby. I just asked, and pardon me for stepping away from the table, but I asked Brenda to contact Donna Hobby. She is watching this portion of the meeting live, and she indicated to Brenda that she was fine with the additional responsibilities of serving as the financial officer as a fiscal agent. So she is on board with this. I believe I'm accurate in saying that. I do have a couple questions. We've migrated away from the survey. I wanted to ask you one more question about that. Were the teachers given a copy of the survey that went home?
The family survey? Or
yes, family survey. So they saw the family survey?
Yes, in fact, many of them handed them out.
Okay. How many children are in Custer County in that age group?
That's one that we wish we knew for certain. That is one of our dilemmas. We don't have a great way of accurately doing that. Most of the demographic information that's provided through the Children's Campaign or any other agency tends to say children are 0 to 17. So it's a little hard to know. We basically go by what we look at. Looks like on average, there are about 20 to 25 births a year. So we just calculate it according to that.
Certainly I'm not being critical, and I do not have an answer, so I probably shouldn't say it at all, but I would think if the Custer County Kids Council is going to function, that is a number that they should clearly be able to articulate.
We are.
How you go about that, I don't know,
yeah.
But,
that has been a discussion since day one.
Personally, I would like to see movement on that. But.
We believe that a lot of our children don't get counted. We have, and keep in mind that the ebb and flow of families also impacts that significantly. Just to give you a sense of it, in meeting with the licensed daycare providers, they have had almost like a 100% turnover, not quite, but it's a huge number just within 1 year in their, in terms of who they service. I did talk to the school. They feel that they've had a large number of those moving out and coming in, and that has been increasing. So that's another complication. All our babies are born in different hospitals. That's another one we're looking at, is how can we track that better? And can we get, without violating...
So that brings up concerns to me.
And we have home births, a lot of home births.
My issue would be, since we are the county and we are the county government, is the perception or the reality of us sponsoring something that would be intrusive enough to go in and interrupt families' personal abilities to control and guide their families to get the right medical care. Where do we draw the line is my issue on it's one thing to have I love the idea, the voluntary aspect of trying to identify people that need help. But the way it's coming across, it's like we're going to identify every birth in the county, and we're going to make sure that your family is going to make sure the right medical care, the right mental care, or that kind of thing. I'm just
right. No, I think I understand.
Grow to that.
Right. I think you're
misunderstanding. I don't want that to happen.
I think I understand your question. I think you're misunderstanding what we're about.
Well,
we are not there to say to families, you need to be doing this or anything else. But what we are there, and that's why we did the family survey, we're there to say, where are the gaps in what we do provide locally? Most of our families, one of their big comments was they have to go down the hill for everything, and it's a hardship.
Are they, you're telling me
so
that
we're
they
looking
wouldn't
to
go to the medical center and say, I've really got an issue and or whatever, or to the school.
They're saying
they're afraid to do that. We need somebody else to do it.
No, I think they're saying that our local clinic, it's wonderful to have it, but that's why we have people from the clinic on our board.
Sure.
Is because we need to be able to provide more in terms of the pediatrician, obstetrician, the specialized care that
and
are
to
particular
provide
to them.
Is paid by somebody. And you're going to give them options to go find the right people.
We're looking. Let me give you an example. Dental care was a biggie. The one thing we were able to do, we got the children's health fair to have. Not the children's health, the health fair to have a children's corner. I went to one of the first planning meetings for that. We brought in the local dentist and his hygienist. They did screenings. From that, we talked to the school and we talked to public health. And we asked the school and public health if they would collaborate on a grant through the Children's Health Fund for families who couldn't afford the dental care that their children needed, but that we saw who needed it. And so those two entities wrote a grant. We're not grant writers. We don't provide the program. We try to make the connections to make those things available that haven't been available before. And so in terms of what the other thing is, we've talked with Valley-wide health systems, and now public health is talking with them. It's happening through interagency. Valley-wide health systems is looking at the possibility of adding Custer County to their loop that they do weekly, where they bring their mobile van. If they bring their mobile van, they're hoping they can bring it on a Friday, and that's a day that the sharing center is open.
So what you would be doing would be
and
putting
then they
it
can
in the
make
newspaper to say this is going to be available.
When those things are available, yes. Our thing is like one of the things we'll talk about on the 14th, I got the days confused, but is we're looking at how do we get to the people who need to know it. We can put things in the paper. We have found the papers are great, and I'm not criticizing the papers, they're wonderful, but not everybody looks at them, and not all the families who need to look at them. We are not coming to say, we're here to see you and your children and we're invading. We're here to say, what do you need so that these families feel welcome, stay here, and what can we do to bring all these young children to the forefront?
So I would be
in this
concerned
community.
that you make sure that people don't call the county commissioners up to figure out how to help my kid. It would be point me in the right direction.
No, in fact, you would kind of not. You wouldn't be listed. I mean, the only place you're going to be listed as is when we submit,
Who's the fiscal agent?
Yeah, when I have to put down who is your fiscal agent, and I have to submit information just about the county as well. And there would be a memorandum of understanding, and I shared that with the one that we have with the school, with Donna Hobby, and she looked at
Guess
that.
we ought to see that.
And, she didn't see
Have you
that
seen it,
as
Jay?
Yes.
You like it?
Yeah.
Very simple.
It's a real simple, yeah.
Very simple, saying that, as fiscal agent, we'll be responsible for collecting the money and passing it on as it's collected. And that was basically, we have no decision-making
That's what
in
it
this
is. Make sure.
process. We're just, I don't want to use the word sponsor, but really that's kind of what it is in my mind. We're just going to collect the money and pass it out, and there will be a little bit of work for Donna Hobby and, getting the money and passing it out.
And the majority of it happens through me.
Right.
Like even when we have to provide information or apply for things, I do it. I would run it by Amy Pershbauer and say, if I had a question on one thing or another.
Has Clint seen the MOU?
I'm not sure. No, I haven't seen that one. We had one drafted at one time.
Yeah,
when
it's
we
the
were
same
going to
one.
be the fiscal agent. And fiscal agent and fiscal sponsor are really, the terms are synonymous. They're used the same, but I've seen it.
Sometimes a fiscal agent means we're paying for it, so
It does. It's It's based on what the language is in the agreement itself, but this agreement makes it very clear the county isn't paying a penny for anything.
then I would be good with it if we see it.
The motion includes the words pass-through money, which should take care of that. If I may finish my portion of the discussion and questions. What was your cost of your family survey?
Basically, we all gave our whatever. We didn't even charge for most of the copies that were made. I probably might have spent
You didn't backwash.
less than $50 on copies.
And who wrote the survey? Your group?
The group did, and actually the person who did the most work was Kathy Taylor, but Kathy Taylor and Beth Green primarily put most of the survey together, and then we all had input, the entire council had input into it before it was finalized.
Okay. Is the only reason the school is not doing it is because of the contribution of the PERA, or were there other factors involved?
No, it was actually, we were fine with them and they were fine with us. It was just that and the other thing that happens is because of, it's tricky, but because of the para, and so that school can file what they need to for para, we ended up having to make our monthly pieces be from the 17th of one month to the 16th of the next. Yet, in order for me to invoice to the state, I had to invoice to the state based on the first of a month to the end of the month. So and that caused an even greater delay in the money coming in to the
Seems
school.
to me you would like
but
to
you
have-
would be at the 30th of the month, and that would coincide with what we have to do.
So if I may then, Jay, I see on the brochure you're listed as a supporter. You're not a board of director.
That is correct.
What does a supporter, are you representing our commission on that? Was it a point of contact thing, or?
I'll explain to you. I was originally going to be on the board. Time commitments was such that I couldn't make every meeting. Butch and I discussed that, and he said, I'd like to take you off the board because they had strict requirements on how many meetings you make and make you a sponsor, and I told him I thought that would be perfectly appropriate. So that's how I
So he
became a
comes to
sponsor.
meetings when he can.
Right. I don't go
But-
to every
but-
meeting. If we have something else going on, I
Right.
just can't go.
And the actual board members sign an MOU, and on that MOU is a requirement that they attend a certain percentage
Right.
of the
And I
meetings.
was unable to meet that commitment.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. I was curious. And then I have some, for the record statements. It is Butch Gemin, Gemin,
Sorry.
not Garmin, and it's Pershbacher. So I would guess you probably have that in the minutes correctly, but wanted to make that note. And also for the record then, I believe, and I certainly understand that it's a minimal amount, but I don't believe we can go away from here saying this is not going to cost the county anything. Is that correct? It will cost the insurance and the labor for whatever Donna provides. Would that be
Yeah,
a
the
correct
biggest thing would
statement?
be Donna's time.
I think that's correct, but my discussions have been that if the amount of the insurance is an issue, that they would include it in the amount that they paid.
Yeah, I've heard from the beginning of this discussion a couple of months ago, it's not gonna cost the county anything. I just want that to be clear. It either is or it isn't. It can't be, well, it isn't.
And I think
but-
that's why Donna and Amy have had conversations too, so that Donna fully understands just what, what has been entailed.
I would really encourage Kids Council to figure out a way to know exactly how many kids that live in our county. Any further discussion?
Just a
gentlemen?
quick note for the record. I think it fits better with the education department. And I don't understand why you wouldn't want to have a little bit of a retirement. So it seems to me that you would increase your grant by enough to cover the tax on.
Well, let me tell you, I already received para. Therefore,
You can't increase it.
which
not an
means that
issue,
I
is
am
it?
also paying into para, but it's not, so we are actually
But that's my
paying.
point is,
But
so it just seems to me.
the other thing is that part of our Office of Early Childhood grant states that we pay no benefits to me.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Here, maybe the public does.
Jay, do you have any? You good? Comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Question, you're talking about insurance. What does that insurance cover? What is for, or whom is it for?
It would be for Kathy.
Is that health insurance, liability insurance?
You want to speak to that?
Well, that's more in terms of what the county's requirement is, but it's just, what's
My
the-
understanding was that the insurance
trying to think of the word that I want, but,
Yeah, the insurance was not specific to Kathy, it was for the organization.
right.
So that if someone sued the county because a child got injured or something, I'm making up a story right now, that our county insurance would cover this organization like we do the airport and every other organization we have. That's my understanding, and if someone knows better who may be on TV would like to come in and tell us differently, that's my understanding. We're not
It's the
insuring
standard
there's no
insurance
health
that covers
insurance
county
involved.
employees.
There's
What
no
is
life
it?
insurance
It's
involved.
what
It's
covers
the
county
organizational insurance.
employees.
Okay,
Whatever
it's a great-
insurance
Like
is-
liability, there's a lot of different.
It's a great,
Liability insurance.
hold on just a second. It's a great question. Thank you. Counselor, is this something we need to pursue so we know exactly what we're talking about?
I think if you want to get some more information from Donna as to exactly what is involved in it, you might want to.
I think you ought to word the motion so that it'll include that plus the MOU, so we know what we're signing.
I'd like to have Donna here to ask us if she's available.
Dinner?
I
She was
just
going
wonder
to
if
try
maybe
to
the appropriate motion wouldn't be to defer here until we do have
I
these
agree.
documents. I mean, we haven't even looked at the MOU, but I'll address that in a minute. Go ahead, sir, we're in public comment.
Yes, well, if we're talking about an insurance for that organization similar to the D&O that we have for the county, if you remember, that policy cost us over $3,000
Right.
for a year. So,
Okay. Okay, good.
Well, I would be under whatever public health, whatever happens under public health.
And here comes the lady with
Other-
the answers.
I was
Comments?
listening and it was further than I thought.
Do we have other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Claudia Morris. I just want to present my positive support for this type of program. If you look at it nationwide, we kind of have a wildfire going on out there. And it's really difficult now to kind of enclose it and contain it and to put it out. Where really we're talking about prevention of wildfires. In this case, where it takes a village to support the intellectual and the values of a child when they grow, And this program, to me, my understanding of it, I don't know a lot, is focusing on that very valuable area of human intelligence and growth and values. And what better place than our community to facilitate that input.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you.
You bet. Other comments from the public? Yes, sir.
The library found the survey very useful, and we also find the council meetings useful to make sure that we're not duplicating the same programs as other organizations.
Okay, thank you, sir. Other comments from the public? If not, Mrs. Hobby, there was some question as to the insurance, what that insurance was, and I know it would probably be hard to come up with a figure, but also what the cost of that would be. Can you address either one of
Well, and I
those?
had told Jay in error that it was $5. It's actually $6.25 for a year.
Okay,
Yeah.
For a year?
Yeah, because we're in a pool.
okay. And it being what?
And
Can
it's-
you elaborate
and-
on that?
And it's liability,
Okay,
like everyone else has, even like you on the zoning. And it's also workman's comp if she were, but it's not, it's not for where she's seated, because she is not a person who has people in with them. She's
Right.
not bringing children in, where that would be a whole different ballgame, where we actually just couldn't afford that type of.
What's our obligation on the workman's comp if it happens? I don't know if there's a match sometime.
And it would, well, if, whatever her hours are, so if she made $200 a month, but then she's not getting grant money, so actually we probably wouldn't have to pay.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, honestly.
do you have a copy of the memorandum of understanding?
This was the one that Clint had worked on
Thank you.
in 2017.
2017, March 2017.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And just to speak of it, even they pay the FICA match, the
We pay all of that.
7.65%. I mean, so there really is, you know, and she does all the grant work. So I'm physically writing one more check to add to the pile of 80, and then one pink check. So my time is not, I mean, I can't even, maybe an extra 10 minutes a month. I mean, I'm not seeing any.
So you don't foresee any issues with this? You're fine with?
I do not. As
the
tobacco
county moving
prevention
forward?
had a grant similar, and Jean Mavromatis, I never heard from her anything. When she would get more grants, she would just tell me the money. I have an offsetting entry for the revenues that come in. They're enclosed in a department with both, so you can tell exactly, you know, if she were to miss a check, if they hadn't sent a check, we would know. You know, no way for it to have a flub up on that part.
Says you gotta maintain it for 7 years, the records. You okay with that? Can you handle that?
I know, just put it in the pile where Kelly has everything.
So for the process portion of it, then Kids Council would deposit money into the county general fund,
To the
and you
treasurer.
would draw from that. Oh, to the treasurer. Yeah, obviously,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah. And that money will go into the general fund.
Correct.
Line item of CCKC.
Yeah, I had it named a little, because they changed the name, because that was throwing me off.
Back then, yes.
Yeah,
We
and
had
so
to
we
change
need to
our name
check that on there, 'cause
because
I'm not sure
Chaffee
if that's-
County was
Somebody else got it.
CCECC.
Yeah, I was like,
We were Custer County Early Childhood Council, but that confused with Chaffee County.
oh.
Counselor, you're okay with drafting a new MOU?
Do that, sure.
And I believe I gave you the one that we have with the school
And
when I was there that day.
Too. That was the one that Clint had.
Should have brought
I'll do it now. Well, I'd like to approve it with, on the caveat that we have an acceptable MOU. But
That's what we need to do.
Okay. Any further discussion, gentlemen? It's been moved and seconded that the county act as a fiscal agent for Custer County Kids Council, primarily to deal with their pass-through monies subsequent to an MOU, a memorandum of understanding between the county and the Custer County Kids Council.
right, and if I may, I'd like to amend the motion slightly to say, if it's approved pending an acceptable MOU between the organizations.
I notice there's a 3-year limit on this one.
So we'll move to amend that,
That's because the grant was 3 years.
the motion
That makes sense.
to add
that.
the MOU.
Right.
Okay. Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll say.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the main motion by adding the words with an approved MOU, approved by the BOCC MOU. Any discussion on the amendment? Public comment?
I just comment that it's such an important process that we're going through, and I'm proud that the county will be the fiscal sponsor or agent to this. It's a wonderful opportunity for our youngsters.
Good. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on the amendment, which reads, with the addition of an approved MOU. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll now vote on the main motion, which states that we will act as fiscal agent for the Custer County Kids Council, dealing with pass-through monies with the addition of an MOU. Further discussion, gentlemen? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Motion is amended. Carries. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all
you, ma'am.
so much.
Appreciate
I appreciate
that.
it. Thank you.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
Do you want to put it on the agenda for our next meeting for
Yeah.
approval of the MOU?
Thanks.
Yes, and I meant to ask this. Does this need to be done via a resolution, or are we all right with a motion?
Just a motion.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you coming in.
Donna, you want this back?
Please, or I was going to make copies at least, so I can.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Donna, give me a copy of what the school, the one with the school.
Okay, and I will try,
I still have a copy of the one I
I'm
did.
going to do it the library.
as long as you have a
You're going to do it right now.
We gotta get to
One more item of business.
Thanks for coming in, Ms. Hobby.
Okay, perfect.
Ms. Hobby.
Never mind. Just so the group understands what's going on, our next item of business is a report from the library. I think we'll hear that report and then we'll go into about a 5-minute break. So please come forward. Sean Barry, the library. Thank you, sir. Good to have you here. How are you?
Young lady, why don't you pull up a chair? You've been standing for an hour and a half. Pull up a
She's
chair and have
young,
a
she's
seat.
young. I bet she could stand another.
Thank you.
And would you like to introduce yourself to the group? Or
My name is McKenna Rife. My father is Steve Rife, and I have been a volunteer at the library, so
good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Say hello.
Hi, McKenna. How are you?
Thanks for coming.
Rice, R-E-I-S.
F.
R-E-I-F-F.
Right.
So our little mini agenda is the annual report, the update from McKenna, and then 2 fun things,
Oh, yeah.
which I hope are fun.
Fun we like.
Okay, good. So we got the memo on the first page. So did you guys get a chance to look at the full annual report?
I reviewed it, but I didn't study it.
Let me jump on that real quick.
It is about the same since 2014. So we could do the summary first and then any questions on the full report. So the first item on the summary.
Hold on just a second, sir. I have mislabeled the document here. I hate to be the odd duck out.
I think it's in your, is that that one?
It's in the
Oh,
packet
yeah.
here.
It's in the
It's
packet.
in
It's in the
board
packet
packet?
here, yeah.
It's in your packet.
Yeah, but he asked if we had a chance to review it. I'm just looking to see if we had it before right now.
I sent it to Brenda
Okay,
yesterday.
that's what I'm looking for. Hold on just a second.
I
I
got
don't,
mine yesterday.
you
so-
did? Oh, I'll bet it might have been an amended. I'll look here. No, I did not get it ahead of time, so go ahead, I'm sorry.
So our number of card holders increased 23% last year. That doesn't include the number of people who use their spouse or parent's card. You will see 2017 we had 219 non-resident patrons, which is a big increase from 2016, which was 39. We now let people use their address elsewhere as their primary address, but they still own a property in Custer County. Let's see, annual visits increased by about 2,000 people in 2017, and that's even with our same schedule being closed on Sunday and Monday. Our collections, magazines haven't grown the same subscriptions. Music CDs went up 8%. Next year is going to go down a lot because we're removing the music that nobody checks out. Audiobooks went down. That's mostly from overuse of the CDs. DVDs went down. DVDs is really the only area we experience theft in. We haven't removed any on purpose. Ebooks went down. The ebooks are managed by Aspen Cat, which is a consortium of over 100 Colorado libraries, and we share the same catalog. And print books went up, and that is from a lot of donations of books that came in good enough quality that we kept for our collections. Total circulation for 2017 went down a little bit, but ebooks went up and children's materials went up. We did get a new grant in 2017 from the Buell Foundation and the State Library called Growing Readers Together, so we were able to redesign the youth area. And we also removed fines on youth items, so we think that's why circulation went up for children's materials. Our technology usage is mixed. Wi-Fi sessions went down, but our computer usage almost doubled. And we think that's because a lot more people only have an iPad at home, so when they need to do something like on their desktop computer, they just come to the library. And printing has gone up a lot too, but that's not on this report. So for technology available at the library, it's the same as 2016. We do get new computers, but we take out the old ones when we get new ones. On the second page, stats about our events. So the number of events are about the same besides for young adult. And the attendance reflects that too. Now we're focusing on fewer events that are a bit more meaningful for the kids, for the teens really. So that is our staff at the end of 2017. Amy Moulton left as director in October. And this year, Ted Ballard retired as systems librarian in April. So the picture will be different next year. Yep. And let's see, and we also had 8 adult volunteers and 5 youth volunteers in 2017. And then at the end, I have the list of our everyday services and resources. One that I want to highlight is, where is it? That we also have the State Parks Pass and fishing kits available for checkout, which is very popular. It's only for a week, so gotta make sure you get it on time. And let's see.
So that checkout on the pass is for a week? I thought it was daily. Lasts for a week.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's it for the summary. So let's see, state law does say that we discuss the sum of the money expended. So that is on the the third page at the top. It is number 3.12. So 2017, we spent $266,027, which was almost $4,000 more than 2016.
Okay, now that's revenue, correct? 3.12 is your revenue?
Yeah, but we spent it all.
And the column on the left is current, okay?
Yeah. So we do benefit very greatly from the Spirit campaign. That's where most of the rest of our revenues come from after the mill levy.
So you expend 100% of your revenue, or you did at least in 2017.
It's not that much. There's a lot more we wish we could do.
The Wetmore Library is just authorized to use the Arctic Cat services for the
Aspen
cattle.
Cat.
Aspen Cat, thank you.
Yeah.
Arctic Cat.
You can ride an Arctic Cat.
It's my ATV, I'm sorry. Aspen Cat. And you use that also.
Yeah.
Are the two libraries entwined now in terms of books back and forth? Is that a possibility?
Sort of. It depends on what the patrons request.
And is there, I know you're a standalone entity, taxing district, but is there any cohesiveness between the Wetmore Library that both they and your library can kind of join up together in some form or I know you can't join an alliance, but where books travel back and forth, ideas come back and forth, those kind of things. I hate to see two standalone libraries without some cohesiveness.
Let's see. Nan and I, we carpool to professional development events, and we do see each other a lot. We do a lot of the same professional development provided by the state library and through the Colorado Consortium of Libraries. So we both receive the same support from other agencies around the state. Within our capacity, we do support each other as much as we can.
Is there any opportunity to enhance that?
Not one that's easily foreseeable.
Thank you.
Were you looking for checking a book out in Wetmore and turning it in up here and getting it back to Wetmore? Something?
Yeah,
you could do
vice
that.
versa. You could do
those
that.
kind of things like that.
Good.
Sounds good. And you brought this lovely young lady
To suffer with us.
just to sit here and listen, or do you have something you'd like to contribute?
Well, Sean asked me, Mr. Sean, asked me to be here today to explain kind of how the library reaches out and gives a lot of opportunity to teenagers.
Great.
In 2016, I became the library's first teen intern, and I was helping with the summer reading program that year. So I would help Miss Jessica Carter, our youth librarian, to organize the different events, set them up, and then help walk the kids through the different events. And then I actually enjoyed doing that so much throughout the summer that I stayed on for the 2016-2017 school year. And I was helping with Camp Happiness, which is our, I think it goes to third grade, kindergarten through third grade group that we have once a month for kids to come, and we have different themes, and they have reading, art, science, and games that all center on typically what she picks as the book. And so in March, for example, we'll have a Dr. Seuss party in honor of Dr. Seuss's birthday. And so I've helped with that, and I would help prepare the different activities and then help the kids corral them, basically. And so I was on as the intern for a year, and I learned a whole bunch of public relations, working with kids. I learned a lot of independent study. Miss Jessica would tell me what to do, and I would prepare different groups and activities. And then I was asked to continue as a volunteer shelver for the remainder that I'm here, basically. And so I have a shelving spot that I believe that I am on and off with Maddie Ballard. And so she and I will switch weeks. It's every other Saturday. I will come in and shelve. And sometimes they'll have other activities that they'll have me do, but it mainly focuses on shelving so that our patrons can get the books they want. And yeah.
Well, it's very, very lucky to have you double her salary as a volunteer. Thank you for all you do, seriously.
We're really happy that McKenna takes it seriously and that we're producing somebody who's not like ready for college, whatever that term means, but is employable as soon as she starts in college.
Great.
She's doing a lot of stuff that she can do as a work-study student at a college university or college library.
Other things, sir?
So now the fun stuff. T-Mobile has been hitting us up to use their services, and I didn't tell them I believe that we actually get service. So they sent me their test device, and we do get service even inside with T-Mobile. So that was news to me.
They didn't used to.
Okay.
That's new.
Yeah. So I did want to also tell Cindy Howard because it's really important for her role in the county. And the second fun thing. So we have 2 items in the library by or featuring Tom already. So this challenge is only for Jay and Bill, for you to either write a poetry book or narrate a movie by sometime, so we can have it in the library.
That's good.
Didn't get much feedback there, did you?
I'd be happy to.
Great.
That's nice, thank you. That's appreciated. Okay, good.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. McKenna, nice job.
Very nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you for your volunteerism.
Thanks,
Thank
Andrew.
you.
Good luck in the future.
See you later, Sean.
College.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hearing no objections, gentlemen, I would like to call for a recess for 5 minutes. Hearing none, stand in recess. To order. I've had a request to make a slight change in the agenda to move the Justice Center presentation up. There are a couple of conflicting schedule conflicts. Gentlemen, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm great with it.
At this time, then, we will entertain a presentation from the Justice Center Committee. You may come forward.
There's the committee.
There's the committee, thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Shannon was walking around, but I think he had to go ahead and leave. So if he comes in, I'll introduce him.
And for the record, Shannon Byerly is the chairman of that committee.
So the Judicial Center, I'll read what I wrote because it's easier for me to make sure I include everything. The Judicial Center is chaired by Shannon Byerly, and I'm Ann Barthrop, and I'm the chairperson for the Land Subcommittee of that Judicial Center. And so I'm going to make the following report on the meeting that was held May 30th, 2018. We had 12 members that attended that meeting, which included the 3 commissioners in a non-voting position, other elected officials, including Judge Amanda Hunter, and citizens. There were about 4 or 5 citizens. Myself and Amanda provided updated and additional information regarding 3 possible land areas available for the future Judicial Center and other potential Custer County seat needs, followed by questions and discussion. A lot of details were provided at that meeting that it was requested not be until I'll get down to a memorandum of understanding is accepted. So the committee, the Judicial Center Committee approved that I present their general and unanimous recommendation of proceeding with the acquisition of the Haga property. That's the term for it, parcel numbers 101-11-371.
One more time, please. 101-11-.
371. 101-11-361. 101-11-363. And 101-11-364 to the Custer County Commissioners. This intent will be memorialized with a general memorandum of understanding prepared by Attorney Clinton Smith to be presented to Alberta Haga and Mike Haga after the approval of the same by the Custer County Commissioners. This memorandum of understanding will act as the county's official good faith intent to acquire the Haga property as described and initiate the process of a written legal document by the attorneys for the county and the Hagas outlining the detailed terms of the contract for acquisition of same.
Gentlemen, I did prepare a proposed memorandum of understanding. It's very simple. My feeling is that, I'll just let you have it, that at this stage it's very basic. It's just acknowledging we want to enter into negotiations with Alberta Haga. I'm assuming she is the trustee of the Chet Haga Trust. And specifically, at this point, I think it's time that the attorneys get involved. So I would expect to be talking to her attorney and to start talking about the details. And at this point, the details, numbers and everything else are confidential. But this is just a basic document that agrees that we're going to proceed in good faith and they will proceed in good faith. But it specifies there's absolutely no cost to the county at this point, and that either side, if we feel that we're not getting anywhere and that it's going to be a waste of time, with 30 days notice, we can withdraw from this MOU.
Okay, thank you, sir. Looks good.
I'll move that we, as the Board of County Commissioners, based on a recommendation from the Land Committee, authorized the issuance of the memorandum of understanding between Custer County and Alberta Haga as trustee of the Chet Haga Trust, and that we as a county pursue and hopefully end up acquiring the parcels of land that they have available for sale.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. If I may condense just a little, sir, because I know I can't quote you chapter and verse there, but it's been moved and seconded to sign a memorandum of understanding between Custer County and the Alberta Haga trustee of the Chet Haga Trust. Discussion?
Just a quick one. I'm not sure she is the trustee, and maybe Mike is.
And I wasn't sure either.
So I would recommend just say trustee of the trust for now, so we don't have to go and redo this in another.
And that's what it says. Trustee of the trust.
Alberta Haga as trustee.
Oh,
well, and I can
I
can change that very quickly if it turns out it's somebody else.
Well, I know you can, but I don't want to have it come back here for us to, because
Your
legally.
your point's very well taken, and I'll amend the trust to say that the memorandum of understanding between Custer County and the trustee of the Chet Haga Trust, just in case she's not. I think that's appropriate.
Okay. Did you amend?
Yeah, you did. I did.
Okay, I'll second the amendment. It's been moved to amend the motion to state the trustee of the Chet, well, actually, the amendment would be to strike the words Alberta Hagen as.
Right.
Discussion, public comment, hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed nay. Motion carries. The amendment
done that
carries, I'm
first.
sorry. The motion will then be to sign a memorandum of understanding between Custer County and the trustee of the Chet Hagen Trust. Further discussion? Comments from the public? Yes, sir.
That would be purchased by the county?
No, sir. It is a lease purchase agreement.
Lease to buy.
Okay.
Thank you. Further public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I'll make that change and send it to Brenda. She can get your signature on it then. It's on my laptop at home. I don't have
Okay,
it with
that's
me.
fine. Gentlemen, you're all right with that? Signing the amended
You bet.
MOU? Thank you, ma'am. Would you like Miss Brenda to send you a copy of the signed MOU? You want to come in and pick up the original? What would your choice be?
I was going to ask how you wanted it to get delivered to them.
I would think probably we need to hand deliver that.
If you'll are willing to take it to her.
Absolutely.
If she is, in fact, the trustee, then she can sign it. If not,
Okay.
I mean, it could be a bank officer as a trustee.
Could be Mike.
Could you pursue that and communicate that with Mr. Smith so that
Sure.
he can...
And then once we find out, and I find out who the attorney is or who I should be negotiating with, then I'll get started doing that.
I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks
And
for
I'd
doing
like an introduction from you when the time comes, because I've never met. Okay.
Okay. Will do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Good job.
Thank you.
Sorry we didn't get Sheriff Byerly in time for him to be here. Okay, we will move on. Transfer expenditures from affordable housing in the amount of $3,564.85. This is a compilation, gentlemen, of expenses incurred by the affordable housing. I've got the dates. I'm sorry, I thought maybe Donna would be here. Over the last 3 or 4 years that have been paid, bills that have been paid, but for some reason that amount had never been deducted from their
line
carryover. So this is certainly an attempt to bring their bookkeeping into a current status. The money has been spent, the services have been received.
Okay. I move we accept that and execute that.
I will second that. It's been
And what fund it's going from and to?
that is
Expenditures
going-
from affordable housing to the account that was debited, whatever it was, general fund.
You want me
Give
to
me
call?
just,
Yeah, we just discussed
let
this
me
yesterday.
get you, that would be
I think it
from
needs
account
to-
number 510, I believe.
No, it needs to go from affordable housing to county general.
That's right.
Correct. Debited out of 510.
Reimburse the.
And it has been debited, it just needs to have the accounting done. Further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of transferring expenditures from affordable housing to the general fund, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Transfer from recording surcharge fund to the county general fund in the amount of $6,239.52. Mrs. Camper, you have the floor.
Okay, hang on. All right, so part of this transfer is $239.52 of this transfer is for my recording scanner, quit scanning, and the company that we go through for our recording, that scanner is about a $1,200 scanner, and he thought he could just fix it. And so we tried that, and it worked, and it saved me about $800.
Way to go, young lady.
Nice.
So
Excellent.
that's part of it. And then we part of the when we scanned all those old books and everything, now we have to index them. If my office indexes them, Lori will probably be not able to retire till she's like 125. So we have contracted, part of all of that is a contract to have an outside person index. It's a person that actually indexes from their home part-time. And so $6,000 takes care of a lump of the indexing. And then, so you'll see that once in a while, and they felt like we could get that done in about 2 years. So that's what the two chunks of this are.
Thank you. I would move that we approve the transfer of the recording surcharge fund to the county general in the amount of $6,239.52.
Second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the recording surcharge transfer to general fund. Discussion. Comments from the public. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carried. Do you have documents to sign, ma'am, or are you okay?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move on to the infamous airport.
Grant's contract.
I'm sorry, I skipped Kelly again. Yeah. Grant contracts on file in the clerk's office. Mrs. Kemper, at your leisure. I know you're trying to get caught up.
Okay, so in 10 years ago or so, when the auditors would come to do the audits and they would need a copy of a grant or contract or something from another office, there was problems with getting copies of those. Nobody was ever sure where they were. They couldn't find them. And so at that time, in October of 2009, the county attorney then, John Naylor, the board had him send out a letter to all of the offices saying, when you get a grant or a contract or something along those lines, a lease, that they needed to bring them to me so that I could keep them on file in my office so that when the auditors come around to do their audits, they're all right there. That went along really good until about the last couple of years. And it's sort of fallen through the cracks. I think maybe change of people, all of that. I always ask people for copies. I don't always get them. So this year, a lot of the grants that the auditors needed, they had to go and search for. And I wanna bring this up again because I think it was a good idea to have all those in one spot. But part of my problem is I'm running out of room for all of these because some of them, one that Cindy Howard gave me this year is like this thick. So I spoke with the auditors when they were here a couple weeks ago, and she said that she did not, if you guys want to continue to do this, she did not see a problem since a lot of stuff is electronic anymore. If they just wanted to send them to me electronically and I store them that way, and then when they come next year, I just put them on a little jump drive and say, here's your stuff. I know all of them won't be able to be electronic, but that will help me really, because I'm really seriously running out of room for these contracts and stuff.
If they send it to you electronically, I'm suspecting maybe they won't be signed at that time, or they'd have to be scanned to be sent to you.
They would have to be scanned And and normally anymore, you guys sign something, they scan it, send it to somebody, they sign it, they scan it and send it back. So there's usually a hard copy floating around somewhere, but most of it's done that way anymore. And that's been the other problem, is some of the copies I get aren't signed, or like on grants, it's the application for the grant and not the final approval. The public health agency, they are very good about getting me their grants. She just emails me their when they've been approved, and I just take them back there and file them, but I don't have too many other ones. So I think that if you guys want to continue to do this, we need to send something out again, so that everybody knows that that's what they need to do.
Counselor, does this need to come from attorney? Can this come from the commissioners?
It can come from the commissioners. It's a policy thing.
I would have expected that really to have been a directive from the commissioners, but I see it was written from the attorney. I have a question. Do you have that copy of that document, sir, that I'm looking at?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. It says that, please be advised that that the county commissioners are enforcing the policy that all original contracts, leases, and grants that would affect the county be on file. Is that what we really want and or need, are the originals?
Well, it would be nice if it weren't for the storage issue to actually have the originals. I think where the world is heading is that electronic storage of these documents is acceptable and sufficient, and so that would be fine to do it that way.
And the auditors, I don't think they really care if it's an original or not, as long as they know that the original's somewhere. In the last few years, before I quit getting them, like if the sheriff's office did a grant, they normally keep the original and give a copy here.
That's what I was wondering. I would think if we could reword this to say an original or a copy of the original.
And do you want it? Do you want the directive to be that they scan it and send it to you electronically rather than giving you a hard copy? Well, I guess some they can't. They have to give you.
Yeah, I would say if possible, if they can scan it and send it to me, just to help with my storage problem, that would be better. But if that's not possible, I can take a hard copy.
And just a copy is sufficient as long as they keep the original themselves then. Okay.
I think as long as somebody has the
Somebody
original.
needs to have an original.
Right.
We ought to know what it is in all cases. In some cases it is the county. Should be the county.
Yeah, and like when it has to do with you guys, then we have the original.
Right, but special taxing districts may not be, Fair Board may not be.
I don't keep any of those.
Yeah.
It's mostly what we have. Most of the grants are sheriff's office, public health, Cindy,
That would be good then.
EMS.
Sorry,
Yeah.
OEM,
OEM,
which we were
yeah.
going to look at one today.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't want that grant. It is a big
there.
dude, but yeah, Mr. Smith would feel like that's adequate. I would say let's consider that, at least that we have a copy, and preferably electronic, with that wording.
Yeah, why don't I prepare something for you to sign rather than for me to sign as the attorney, and can just as a reminder that is a policy, and however we are changing it a little bit.
Would you include all three commissioner signatories on that? So?
Sure.
Thank you.
And the other thing that I just want to request is that this is not, this is nothing that's in statute that I have to keep in my office. It was just a thing to help the auditors and all that. And so I'll remind somebody, hey, can I have a copy of your thing? but I'm not gonna go hunt them down. And so if the auditors come and I don't have it, I just don't want,
Right.
I don't want that to come back on me that I don't have it.
Okay, good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Counselor. All right.
So is Clint, are you gonna do that letter then?
I'll do it for their
For them?
signatures.
Okay.
Airport testing to determine the load capability.
All right, that's going to be me reporting, and I'm going to give these two guys, because Alan not able to be here. And I did put hard copies in your boxes of a couple things. And I want to give both Bob and or Dallas a copy of this. You haven't got it yet. Or, yeah. Okay. Give that. Thank you. Because you missed it. And then
Looks like only the hard copies.
I want to give you this one too. Yeah, there should be in your box. You got them. Thank you, sir.
Give me a copy.
Do you need it? Tom, I got another one here.
No.
You got it. Okay, all I need to say that I didn't say earlier is the family, the Watts family, as you know, are wanting to move forward with improving the airport. They're working with a general contractor, I'll call it, engineering organization called, what is it? Armstrong Engineering. And then they have subcontracted the geotechnical group engineering company called Caesar Incorporated. Caesar will be doing the testing of where they're going to do a non-invasive drop of a weight and get the echo off the runway. So I wanted to report that today. That's the process in order for us to get the information to make a decision on whether we go ahead and modify the airport. What that modification would mean is the picture that I gave you right here is a couple things. I'll hold this up for everybody else to see. They are proposing increasing the ramp space for the fuel as well as their airplane. Their airplane is a Falcon 3 800, which has 70-foot wingspan, large wingspan. And so they would like not to have to go up the taxiway and then do a U-turn on that aircraft and swing those wings around, and there's other aircraft. So they're proposing adding an additional taxiway in order to get up to the ramp, come around, and either to a ramp improvement on the south end or on the north end. There's two spots that we'll consider, and I'll get the airport board and the guys to take a look at what we would recommend is the right place to position it. That contracting would be accomplished by Armstrong Engineering to do the specs on the improvements, to spec out what the ramp ought to be and how to put the fuel in. We'll get that later, and that's what we'll bring back to the board. So that's the process right now, and it's all. And the other letter that you have that I gave you is the letter from the family that actually outlines what they're proposing for us to do. And that would include, I'll make a public record of this, is construction of the pad for short-term parking to accommodate their Falcon 900B aircraft. Number 2 is construction of a new and modification to the existing taxiway for access for the short-term parking pad. They're not going to make it a cover for their aircraft. It's just an overnight parking, and they fly it a lot, so it'll be in and out of here a lot. Number 3 is a Jet A single point and over-the-wing fueling system similar to the fuel tech that to be used by the public, allowing our aircraft to purchase fuel at cost, and the county will be able to charge other customers at their desired price, so we can set the price for other users other than them. That's part of their deal, is to have it at our cost. And then finally, a private instrument approach procedure for the airport, so that means that they would be able, and other, when they say private, that's it's not a public use. It wouldn't be on the charts necessarily unless it were, it can be made available to other aircraft. But it allows them to make an instrument approach in here to get down to within 600 feet of the ground, break in under the clouds, and then land. So it gives them more use to get in and out. And then they also would like to groom the and it's on the second to last paragraph. Additionally, if the above is accepted, we would need to have the county at their expense to actually groom that berm that's on the east side of the runway, to cut it down so that it's not as steep and so that it's lower and further away from their wingspan if the gust catches them and causes them to deviate a few feet one way or the other.
When you say their expense, who are you referring to?
The
when you say
family,
their?
the Watts family. And so we have a choice, and this is something that we'll have to bring forward. We can use the county to make the modifications if they reimburse us, or contract to somebody to actually do that bit of work to make it happen. So that's the, initially they were going to send up their own equipment and do it, but it probably makes sense to entertain having our guys do it. But that would take away from the other jobs, so we'd have to, discuss how we're going to handle it. But all this is at their expense. And they're, like I mentioned before, very willing to work with us, want to get involved in the community at all levels, and they've already been involved, as I mentioned earlier, with the school and sponsoring the sport board for football. So that's all I needed today, is just to make everybody aware of it. We'll come back. The testing, they want to try to get this as soon as they can, so if we're going to make modifications, we do that. Well, the weather's good, and get it done quickly so that the other aircraft can take advantage of it and they can get in here as soon as they can.
Here's a question. Aside from the private instrument approach, all the other modifications would be open to
yes,
perfect
anybody
who needs it.
It's not a private, not their ramp. They're going to park it up there.
They'll build the ramp, but anybody can use it.
Anybody can use it. Taxiway, anybody can use it. It's a great idea. As a matter of fact, when I was talking to Dallas earlier, that taxiway is a good thing for everybody, because it's very difficult. It's a one-way taxi in and out the way it is right now, in and out, and it's very nice to make the loop.
So is there any downside to us? Will it hurt any of our current pilots, or is there anything negative?
The only thing negative is there'll be some time when we start the construction, and we'll have to worry that with the right guys, and you in particular, making sure we X out whatever we have to X out while they're doing it.
We've done that before.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say anything. I mean, looks like
a really a neat thing that's happening for us. We're going to be one of the few small airports with Jet A.
I like it.
And along a runway that's long enough to handle multiple aircraft, which should be an economic improvement for the valley at large.
I'm trying to remember, but did we say...
Or the county at large. I got to quit saying valley. There's Wetmore, too.
Did we say that potentially we might sell the Jet A to them at our cost?
Yes.
For a period of time, or forever?
Forever is what they want. It's enabling us to... that's one of the reasons they're wanting to donate as much as they are. Just give it to them at the lowest possible price, and we can charge whatever we want. It'll be between us, a contract between us and them. We'll work that with the guys to deal how we're going to sell Jet A.
It's like a win-win to me.
You mentioned that their aircraft was an 800. I think
it's a 900. I didn't mean to. It is a 900 problem.
What that means, sounds like bigger.
It's got a narrow landing gear, surprisingly enough, and they've modified that airplane with winglets, so it's got extra fuel. They can travel for 4,000 miles one way.
Yeah, I got a concern here that they list items 1 through 4. We would propose the following 1 through 4 items at our expense, not in any particular order, and then later on they bring up regrading the east side of the runway. I have looked at that. That is a tremendous amount of volume down there. Incredibly. I would really have to be sold to send our road and bridge down there. I would guess that's a week and a half project. I'm guessing.
Well, that's something I didn't mention, Tom. I did talk with Gary, and he and I are going to go out there and look at what we think it might be with his expertise.
Yeah,
and then we'll find out. And that's not at our expense. That's something I'm working with them.
Yeah, if that eventually comes to the commissioners in some kind of a contract, Obviously, it's kind of a no-brainer, but I will probably struggle sending our road and bridge crew out there to do this. So I would guess you should maybe at least have a conversation that we may have to go outside.
That's what I said.
If I may?
Yes.
Yeah, cutting down that berm, that's several thousand yards of material in there. I don't know how long it would take, but yeah, it'd be quite a
project.
job. Also, on their letter, the next to the last paragraph says that if the above is accepted. I'm sure they used the wrong word there.
Second to the last paragraph.
Accepted. Oh, yeah, it should be accepted.
Act, yes.
Yeah, there should be.
Yes, not accept. Anyway, I will sit down with them. That's the plan. Once we got to understand what the testing yields, and then we will work out the details specifically on each of these items, including the berm.
And when you say sit down with them, are you talking about Dave and Crystal, or are you talking about their pilot?
Right now, the initial work is with the pilot who speaks for them. And then I will meet with the family themselves. They want to get together, and we'll confirm what they really mean in person. And then we'll bring it forward.
At some point, it'd be nice if they could.
I'd like to have them come in here and meet everybody.
That's what I was saying. I'd like to meet them.
Yeah.
I don't think we need any formal action at this point, other than to say, I'll say myself, I think this is a nice opportunity, and we should continue to pursue it. Hopefully, it'll come to fruition.
Yeah. Any comments out there? Thank you, guys.
No comments because we're not voting. All right, let's move on. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Discussion regarding a proposal for a lease space by AT&T. Let's see if I can pull that up. I believe, gentlemen, I had forwarded you that from a Mr. Robert Moore. I did not include it in the board packet because I had sent it to you earlier. Let me pull my copy up. Thank you.
Thank you, too.
He doubts.
No, it is not
Ask
Robert
Brenda
Moore.
to make a copy of this and give you each a copy.
Okay. I'm going to struggle now with getting my... Bill, do you have it?
Which one?
The email I forwarded you concerning the lease.
Yeah, where is it?
I've got Ray Moore and Robert Moore. I'm sorry, I had those mixed up. Neither one of them were correct. Well, if I can find it, I can tell you that.
Well, I could just tell you while you're looking.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Westcliff, who was initially contacted,
I've got it.
is extremely disappointed to find that it's on county property. I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you.
I'll bet they are.
There's a nice lease payment that's involved with this.
523.
Sucker here.
523 was the date, yes. Anyway, yeah, go ahead, sir. I just wanted to give you that.
I just wanted to mention.
Yeah. So, Evan Brooks contacted me just because I happened to be sitting here in the office the day he came in and indicated that he wanted to, or he had been asked to represent AT&T, and they were requesting the county to consider leasing them a footprint for a tower, between 100 and 120 foot tower. I will read what it says. You're certainly welcome to read it yourself. AT&T is interested in installing a cellular tower in Westcliff for their FirstNet build-out. I'm sure that would be part of it. I don't think that's their entire desire is to do for FirstNet only, which is actually a service designed for emergency services. And so they have selected a site. They were very specific about the parameters dictating where their site requests were going to be.
It's on there, isn't it?
It's 523. Oh, you didn't have your...
No, I had the hard copy.
You're welcome to look here.
I was going to have to look.
Okay. So they went, as Commissioner Prince suggested, they approached us. I did not hear back from them for some time, and the next thing I know, they were in conversation with the town of Westcliff. I think that was because they thought Westcliff owned the piece of property. It wasn't anything we did or didn't do that drove them.
They owned it.
Yeah, Westcliff thought they owned it.
They did.
And, yeah, and so I think that's why they ended up going to the town of Westcliff. Upon some research, Mr. Carter determined that Westcliff did not own that property, that indeed it did own the county. So they came back to the county, waving their flag again, wanting to know if we would again consider leasing them a footprint for a tower. They're estimating, I believe they said, 40 by 40, so 1,600 square
They
feet.
had two sites. One was on top of the sheriff's office on the antenna that exists today. They would improve that antenna and then put all the antennas there, plus that one thing. The other one was a separate site that they would build out.
Yeah, their
behind the building.
first preferred site would be directly east of the stone house, which is south of the courthouse.
And they were looking at 100+ foot, 120 maybe.
Yeah, as I indicated, between 100 and 120 feet. So I've had a couple questions about this myself. I guess the primary question is, how would we as a commission go about getting public input from the residents of Silvercliff and Westcliff to
When
get
we
their
wanna
opinion about this?
Bring them in and have them present it.
I would guess at some point, yeah. I'm certainly not expecting a decision today, but I just wonder, maybe the commissioners are fine with making a decision
Yeah, that's what
on
I'm
leasing this without. I don't know that.
And you bring up an excellent point. We're in the process, we being Westcliff, is in the process of another carrier discussing the same thing. And the question of public comment came up, and they said, at the time, we felt it wasn't necessary, but I would defer. Is this something you feel that public input needs to be to lease a cellular tower?
I think it would be a good idea. There are going to be a lot of people who don't want a 120-foot tower right
I
there.
was going to say the same thing, and then we got zoning issues.
Yeah, and
they
it's
gotta
still, I mean,
comply
it's
with.
county land, but it's in the town, so it has to meet the zoning requirements.
Or get the waivers appropriate.
Would meet the town zoning requirement.
Right.
Because it's not in the county. And I spoke to Mr. Carter about that, and he obviously, because they were getting ready to move forward with that very thing, said that the zoning requirements were not an issue.
They meant the ones in Westcliff. And
Yes, I'm saying in Westcliff zoning, thank
right.
you.
And the Westcliff Tower is going to be a tower that, not very attractive, but it looks like a tree. It's not just you've probably seen those towers that are made to look like a tree. That's
That
what
would
they're
look
putting.
ridiculous.
That's
All
why
by
I said-
itself in
That's
the
why I
middle
said
of
they're
it.
not particularly attractive, but they may be more palatable than just a metal stick in the ground.
Right now, if you think about it, right now you don't see the sheriff's tower. You know, your eyes don't see it because we've gotten used to it. That tower they're proposing is probably 20 feet taller is all. So it's something to consider because people will, like Clint said, it is an issue. It's another 100-foot tower that it would replace one possibly. Which might make a difference on which site's selected because of that. And get 200-foot towers next to each other, getting a cluster of towers right in the middle of Westcliff. I don't know how desirable that is. Something to
Well,
think about.
yeah, I have no idea about what the town of Westcliff's considering with another carrier. But I've wondered if this is a little bit of a circling the globe here, but if we couldn't institute some kind of a short survey tool on our county website, leave it open for a week or 10 days and say, we're going to post this website or this monkey survey, whatever brand we happen to go with, to just try to get some public input. How do you feel about a 100 to 120 foot tower for cellular service? People I've talked to personally, and the citizens said, what, you think I got a problem with better cell phone service?
That's what I keep
They're
hearing
all
too.
over that.
Well, is it going to be for public cell phone service? I wasn't quite sure what.
AT&T indicated that. Their representative said it would be for cellular service, including FirstNet.
Okay.
Right. That's what they said.
Imagine most people would swallow
that's
whatever objection they had just.
so.
Well, I think it's important we understand why they need it in town. That's come up because they got a tower not too far away already. Why is that necessary? I think there's we need more understanding what it is before if we invite questions, we're going to get a bunch of random
We
responses.
certainly need a picture of what it's going to look like.
And why it has to be in the middle of West Clinton.
Mr. Brooks has indicated he would be more than willing to come and sit before the commissioners. I said I will bring this before the commissioners and we can have a discussion.
And I think as an agenda item that would be open to the public and anybody who would like to would have an opportunity at that time to make their comments. So I think that would be sufficient public notice. I mean, this isn't like we're going to paint the courthouse blue. I mean, we're going to do something.
We could do that.
Really, we could, but you know what I'm saying. It's not. I don't see this as a monumental decision that people need to consider. I think Clint is right. Most people are going to go, you mean my cell phone's going to be better? Yeah, I'm all for it.
Some concerns I have heard voiced, particularly with search and rescue in the sheriff's office, is are we going to get to a cross-banded thing and have some interference? And obviously, Mr. Brooks said they would address that if he came in.
Also concerned about the helicopter that lands over at the clinic.
Yes.
And it's not that close, but it's close enough. It's a 120-foot tower.
Depends on whether they cable it and things like that.
Right.
My understanding is it would be a freestanding tower, but that again would be something we would hammer the
Why
details
don't we
out.
invite this gentleman to come visit with us at future board meeting?
And
Sounds like they're in a hurry. What's the time?
I do not know that. He said at some point in the future, if we would like him to come, he would be more than welcome. Did you pick up a sense of their timing when you were working with them with the town of West Clinton?
There was no sense of urgency that I felt.
I didn't either, but and back to the heliport possibility. Obviously, if the county does move forward with the acquisition of some land, that may be a consideration. But I guess that's something we'll have to discuss if and when we get to that. They did, as Commissioner Kanda alluded to, indicate that they would also be willing to replace an existing tower of search and rescue or the sheriff's office and include the search and rescue or the sheriff's office equipment on their tower at a lower elevation probably. So that's a possibility, but their number one preference was east of the stone house, for lack of a better description. So by consensus, shall I extend an invitation to him?
I would like to talk to him.
All right, I will do that. And Miss Brenda, I will coordinate with you about when that will be. I'll communicate with him and we'll go from there. Thank you, gentlemen. And did you find it? Yes, sir, you did, didn't you?
Can you email that to me?
I will forward it to you right now. I'm not sure, Brenda, I'm going to include you on that as well.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Next item on our agenda is our OEM grant signature approval. I'm not sure that Ms. Howard forwarded you
I didn't
that
see it.
document.
I didn't get it.
Okay, she brought it by yesterday, and I forgot to ask if she had sent that. This is the grant.
It was sent to everybody.
Was it? I missed it.
Thank you. It was the grant we had spoken about. Actually, we voted on it in a meeting in.
Well, I've got a hard copy.
Okay, in Wetmore, And this is a follow-up to that motion that we approved that I believe I'm paraphrasing, but we said that we would move to approve this grant and allow her the opportunity or the authority to sign that document when it came through. This is the document. So she came by and said, I don't feel comfortable signing it without touching base again with the commissioners.
And that was what we agreed.
We already approved that action, yes. So with, by general consent, if you're okay, I will
Sign that baby.
give this back to her. So I am not sure if she needs to be the signatory or myself.
I think she's signing it, isn't she?
But I will follow up with her if that's okay with you guys, and we'll figure that out.
Okay.
All right. Counselor, are we still scheduled for an executive session today? Thank you. I believe that concludes the new business. We did not add any new items, so at this point we will open up the floor for public comment if you have any. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, Claudia Morris.
Hi, Claudia. How are you?
Sir, thank you. I just wanted to share with the county, and of course we've been working with several organizations, but we did attend the Silver Cliff Town meeting, and we did advise them of our good news in that we have property that is private property right now, that our intentions are to leave a legacy of for educational purposes. We have discovered either Ute Indian or Paleo Indian, even older than the Utes, archaeological valued, not just trees, but stone circles and other artifacts. Wonderful find, and we don't want to just keep it for ourselves. We want to contribute it to the community. So we are sharing this information with the county commissioners, and we are seeking your input because we would like to partner, and we've talked to the Wetmore Library, and we want to partner with the library for adult educational learning. We want to partner with the school district as well. And also, we are partnering with History Colorado to really engage their services in the area of the archaeological process. And we've already engaged a gentleman by the name of Roland McCook. He is the descendant of Chipeta and Chief Uray. He has also been a scholar with the Smithsonian Institution. He has also been the chairman of the Northern Ute Tribe. And he's also worked with the Bureau of Land Management as a liaison in repatriating artifacts to the tribes. So the Utes do not own land. They do not want to purchase land. And this is a unique opportunity for us to partner for the education, both cultural, archaeological. We can use this area for forestry education, like an outdoor lab, geology. We have wonderful geology in that area, and history, obviously. So I think it's an opportunity for the valley and for the county.
Cool.
So we have two parcels, a forested parcel with the yew trees, and then another parcel on this side which has pasture, stone circles, and the old Wheeler silver lode mine. So it's rich with opportunity. I just wanted to come to you today and share that We did get confirmation from Mr. McCook, he was here visiting, that yes, we do have the real deal, and we'll be working with him as well as History
Where's he
Colorado.
from again?
Mr. McCook is living in Montrose on the original farm site of Chipeta, and he worked recently. He just finished his big project with the History Colorado, and they built a museum in Montrose at that site dedicated to Ute history, and Chipeta's been, repatriated to that location as well. So we're very excited.
Sounds
And we
wonderful.
wanted to share that with
Is
you,
there
and that's
anything
why
that-
we've been really working on, making things safe for visitors.
Where is
working
that?
on
On
trails.
it's right up here above Soda Cliff Ranch. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's on our property.
Oh, your place there. Okay.
Yeah, lot 43 in filing 2, and then the other lot is lot 6. They're in filing 1.
Is there anything that you're seeking at this time from the commissioners?
I just wanted to share that information and certainly get your input as we move forward in where do we want this to be, because we will be donating this property to as our legacy. And we really want to do it right. We're very early stages, but we know that it's important, it's valuable, but it's broader than just yew trees.
It's just not land, I caught it.
Right? It's geology, it's educational geology.
So keep us posted on how it's going,
so.
and at some point, if the maybe signage to help direct people, things like that, maybe we could.
Well, we
I'm not
will
speaking
be
for
doing
us, but
a
those
dedication.
kind of things we could help you with potentially down the road.
Yeah, we will be dedicating it, and we would love to have you join us.
You just
we'll
invite
have
me, I'll be there.
Roland there, as well as hopefully other youth council members.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing this.
We're excited
Need some
about
great
that.
news.
Very cool.
Yes.
Very good. Well, thank you. Appreciate
Thank you very much. I appreciate
that, Claudia. Thank you for staying all
your
morning
time.
too to share that with
Oh,
us. We
sure.
appreciate
a long
it.
time to give us good news. But
That's okay. It's okay with me.
Cleo, thank you for being here as well. Appreciate that. Good. All right. Other public comment?
I have one quick one.
Yes,
if
sir.
I may. And what more you, and I sincerely appreciate, mentioned about my son's broken elbow.
Yes.
My son had surgery. I'm just mentioning this because if anybody cares, I care a lot. He had surgery. He's mending well, and he's doing good. And I appreciated your comment.
Oh,
Thank you.
you're entirely welcome. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it. Good news. Not back to work yet, I'm assuming.
Oh no, he's got months of rehab, and it was a compound and just major devastation, but it's all good.
Good. Well, thank you for the update.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. I know this will go way outside the realm of political correctness, but I'm going to ask that we do just take a moment of silence and offer up whatever you are concerned or consider offering up for our friend Mr. Butler as he is in the hospital. So if you don't mind, please, we'll just have a brief moment of silence. Thank you, folks. Obviously, as a former county commissioner and a citizen that's been involved in our community for a long time, we hopefully you will carry our well wishes with you today, sir.
Please do.
Okay.
I have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
Donna just came in and reminded me that as a part of that affordable housing transfer that we did,
Yes.
there's a fund in the treasurer's office, but there are no funds in that because they're in county general. And so, $12,569.52 is donations, and part of actually that was already transferred. It's donations, that are sitting in the general fund but need to be transferred into that housing fund, affordable housing fund,
Okay.
so that
There's
the
money.
transfer that we did, we have something.
We need to add
Yes.
another transfer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can. If you have not seen this, gentlemen, this was the 3564 of the expenses that have been incurred from '09 to
They've been
2813. So that was the amount we transferred today. This was, we didn't really transfer it, we were just authorizing them to get their accounting system up. And then that number again, Kelly, I'm sorry.
It's 12,569.52.
Okay,
And that comes from county general into
back to
affordable housing.
affordable housing. And then I can tell you, gentlemen, out of that, the Affordable Housing Committee and the Economic Development Corporation have agreed on a split for the $13,000 grant. Let me pull that up for you real quick.
Is that right, Donna? Did I do that right?
I think so,
Yeah.
because it would have been upside down.
I know we looked at the numbers yesterday, and I certainly did not have those.
Yeah, Donna and I and Susie all looked at them, and then I never even gave it a thought.
Because that's where it was there, that was
This
in.
is really just an accounting transfer, is that correct?
Right.
Yes, yeah.
It's already been spent.
I think what we
And then I was going to give you the agreed upon split. I think this is it.
And then next month, when they pay that one check,
You didn't copy all of us on that?
I can look here, I don't know. So their proposal, and I wonder if we should act on this today.
well, if we
To
wanted to move that
authorize that.
1650, because when we write that, it'll come out of the account that's almost there, but just not
Right.
quite earmarked.
Yeah.
And we're
So,
still leaving the 10,000 that was budgeted in county general, right?
Yes, and that
yes.
will, this is
Oh,
how
that's
this is how
okay.
I'm gonna pay it, if that'll help them to see what I'm going to do on the next part of that.
right. So the total amount was $13,000. Here's the affordable housing budget. They agreed to pay $10,000 of that, which will deplete their budgeted request. The Affordable Housing Fund had $1,650, and then the Economic Development line out of our general fund budget of $1,350 for a total of $13,000. So that was what we instructed them to do as a commission. We said, why don't you guys get together and decide how you want to split that expense up? They all agreed that they would deplete the affordable housing budget of $10,000. And then the economic development budget, they have $8,800 in their current budget. They want to expend $1,350 of that. And then out of the $10,755 in the housing donations, they want to expend $1,650. I would guess we probably should.
You can go ahead and do that
Do
one,
that,
and then
but-
when we do that, we don't have to remember.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that was gonna be.
So the amount that we were talking, I just put that away, I'm sorry. The amount we were talking about transferring today was $12,569.52. Would go from the
County general.
county general to affordable housing. Is that correct? I would so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to transfer $12,569.52 from county general fund into affordable housing. See if I can find that account number real quick.
It's on the front, 4,500, 520, I believe.
Okay. Account 520. Discussion. Comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Transfer that. And then group's pleasure on approving the expenditure for the $13,000 to pay for the housing study.
We already did.
I was gonna say, I think you already.
Well, I told them we would approve their split.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did not, that check was not written.
That's correct. It has not been
That's
written
the
because
future.
we were
We're ahead.
ahead of the ballgame. But I did speak with Mr. Vogel and told him we would at least discuss this. So it ends
I'll
up in
go
a
ahead
motion.
and I'll move that $13,000 for the affordable housing study be split, $10,000 coming from affordable housing budget and the remainder coming from economic development.
Not totally
the other way
correct.
around.
Part of it's economic development and part of it is back to affordable housing. So there's two funds.
Okay. Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll second the motion. Been moved and seconded to approve the financial split on the $13,000 grant, $10,000 coming up from affordable housing budget, $1,650 coming from the affordable housing fund, and $1,350 coming from economic development. Did I state that correctly, sir?
Well.
All right. Discussion? Sign it today or not?
Either
Oh.
way is fine.
Okay.
And actually, all this was perfect, and it always had been, but this is much clearer when someone comes in and asks how much money they have. We don't have to run 20 reports and go to 5 places. It'll be right there in that pot.
To be done right.
Discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We kind of got scrolled down there. I'll just sign it towards the bottom. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. So hopefully those accounts, that one has been in kind of, not limbo, but they never have addressed it since, what, 2002 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So we should be good to go there. All right, thank you, ma'am. Anything else? Public comment? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Come out. I retracted. Do we want to go into executive?
Yeah, we gotta do that first, don't we?
Yes, or we could, do you want the executive session as part of this meeting?
Yes,
or
because
okay.
when we come out, then I'm going to, in executive session, I'm going to make some suggestions as to what action I would like to see taken, but you can't make a decision until we're back into
Right.
Right.
Okay, so we will then.
I
Motion
retract
is
that.
withdrawn,
Yeah.
second withdrawn, thank you. So at this time, I want to thank the audience, your patience for being here. We will move into executive session for legal advice.
It's legal advice concerning the property issue involving Ms. Morris.
Okay,
And you'd indicated you might have an employment or employee issue?
I do. I would like to address that in executive session. You can then determine as our attorney whether or not it belongs in executive session, but fair enough.
And that's fine. And this is just going to, since the statute talks about the employee being present, if in fact this involves an employee.
It does not involve a specific employee.
Okay.
It involves employment.
All right, that's fine then.
Okay, thank you.
But just then again, for the public, the legal advice part will not be recorded. The other discussion on the other issue will be recorded.
Okay, very good. Well, give me just a second, Dan. Thank you for withdrawing your motion too, because boy, I was about to drop the hammer on this dude.
Will you make a motion that we go into executive session?
Yes, let me pull up the language, but go ahead.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for 2 items. One is for attorney advice, and one is for personnel, employment issues.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn or dismiss into executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. That would be Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6, -402 sub B, sub 4, sub B. Okay, thank you folks. Appreciate that. 12:47 p.m., May 31, 2018, and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Brenda Gady, Kelly Camper, Attorney Clint Smith, Commissioners Kanda, Flower, and Prince. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion for any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meeting laws, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Hearing none, executive session is closed. Next item on the agenda would be to direct counsel to communicate with Ms. Morse's attorney.
Well, now that we're back on the record, I would state on the record that the executive session was solely for the purpose of giving legal advice on two different issues. We stayed on topic. No decisions were made in the executive session. In my legal opinion, we followed all the requirements of the open meetings law.
Thank you, sir. What's the group's pleasure?
That's fine.
Oops.
I move that we adjourn.
We need to direct him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, I was just saying that we probably should.
You started to, but then you got interrupted.
Go ahead, sir, if you care to. If not, I will.
I move that we ask the county attorney, Mr. Smith, to correspond with Ms. Morris's attorney regarding the discussion that we had in executive session.
Second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to direct our county attorney to communicate with Ms. Morris's attorney. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Anything else to come before the meeting, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll declare the meeting adjourned.
All right. So boys, I'm not going to be here for that staff meeting.